And we are active. This is an impromptu stream out of nowhere. Be-Eazy, that dude, a discussion with that dude. The other dude that we discussing with is Brian T. As you can see on the screen, it says BT. You feel me? So if I refer to him as Brian or BT, you know who I'm talking to. You know who I'm talking with. Brian, what's up, man? How you feeling tonight?
Oh, doing great, doing great. And that's the big timer with a Y. That's a reference to the music I kind of like from the South. But I'm doing well. I'm happy to be here.
Okay, you know about the big timers. You talking about Cash Money, Baby Birdman, and Manny Fresh,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. No, I respect it. I respect it. So, since time is precious, we just gonna get right into it. Brian. We discussed behind the scenes some of the topics that we want to delve into. Is there any one particular that you wanted to start with?
I let's let's go to immigration first because that's the bulk of it. There's obviously issues there that we need to talk about for basically both of us. All of us as the United States, and the going at it as far as who is backing it, which is, and we can go into the bits and pieces of that for sure, if that's okay.
Absolutely. Let's start it off. I do have a video as well that I'm gonna see if I'm able to play it. Let me just go ahead and share the screen right now. Okay, so we're gonna go with this one right here. Let me know if you can hear this.
I mean, are we really saying here in the year 2025, well, we have to maintain the status quo of illegal immigration in the United States because we need little
Loud and
children
clear.
marijuana in California?
Got you. Okay. So let me rewind that back.
I just want to go back to the thing I was most concerned about in reading all of this today, and that's that these little children are found on these farms. I mean, are we really saying here in the year 2025, well, we have to maintain the status quo of illegal immigration in the United States because we need little children to pick marijuana in California? It's like blowing my mind.
No, Scott, I think you're making a really, frankly, it's a very important point. I mean, the fact that young children, immigrants or not, are working on these farms, whether they're forced to because they have to make money for their families, or maybe they,
for whatever here to do that,
or for whatever reason. I totally agree that is something that we as a country need to address. But I think you have to acknowledge that there has been no effort made by policymakers, Republican or Democrat, to address the driving causes of that, which are the employers willing to employ these children. Who is employing a 16-year-old undocumented immigrant?
Yeah,
and
I
why
agree.
Are those
I mean, one of the farms that was raided, I read, is even a Gavin Newsom.
Okay, are you there?
Do you see how he discredits the argument?
No four lefties losing it, and we almost went to hold.
Yeah, go ahead, speak on it.
Do you see how he quickly deflects to another politician when she mentions that, what about who's employing them? And she's right. He goes into Gavin Newsom. That has nothing to do with Gavin Newsom. That is the person that got that license to grow. Obviously, that and we know how shady their marijuana grow licenses. I just question automatically deflecting to away from the person that hired them. Period. they should all be punished. Every one of them that hires illegal immigrants, put them also in jail. That's fraud. That's tax fraud. And the fact that there are license or visas that any of the farmers can get. They just have to file paperwork and provide housing, which unfortunately, a lot of these, farmers and well, the new farmers at least, and some of these people that hire them, they refuse to basically house them because they don't want to be seen or heard. They want them coming in, working, and bussing them right out.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And this is the issue too. When you look at someone like Diddy, who was a freak and a pervert, right? And they want to give Diddy a RICO charge for being an obnoxious freak. Meanwhile, you have these corporations who are affecting many people's pocketbooks, right? Stagnating wages, continuously contributing to the rise of the housing costs because they want an unlimited influx of illegal immigrants so that they can further exploit them, but just so they can get their cheap labor in their voluntary exploitation. It's not like just a victimless crime. You're gonna say something?
Oh no, you're spot on. It does go to the top, and in fact, I've actually, if you just simply Google search some of the employers that have been popped for hiring illegals, like meat packing processing plants, they're owned by hedge funds. So if you can actually track them to New York City. So it's not like, we always envision these good old boys, chicken farms and pig farms and things like that, and cattle ranchers. That's not the case anymore. They're big conglomerates. They're owned by venture capitalists and hedge fund managers. And I'm kind of sounding like a wild Marxist right now, or a communist, but these are facts, folks. And it's the ugly truth that if you track of who owns and who's actually the end user of the labor, it goes right back to New York City. I'm for farmers actually owning and farming the land, or growing crops and raising pigs and cows, but you got to do it. You got to do it legally and fair.
And those are the two words that seems to get lost in the sauce: legally and fair. And I get it. Life is not fair. Fair is a place where they judge pigs and eat funnel cake. So I could understand that the concept of fair is a bit of a delusion, but people should want aspirationally things to be fair, right? You want to try to get it as fair as possible. It's never going to be apples to apples 100% fair, but don't expect me to promote something that's unfair, promote something that's detrimental to not only my community but just towards Americans in general. I'm like, some of my best friends are immigrants, still have an accent, some barely, are barely speak English, some of their family members. And when you talk to them who came here legally and they what they say did it the right way, they are like border hawks, like way more than I am. I try to be politically correct because people are so sensitive, even though I shouldn't be, right? I still try to respect people. But you look at, for instance, a lot of people want Black people to go crash out for immigration, where there's countless reports that mass legal and illegal immigration hurts the Black community. If we're already at the bottom, bringing in a bunch of people who they call low skilled labor, and and then you never think about, I mean, not you, but if the skills are so low, then why don't you train these high school kids to do it, right? You mean to tell me a high schooler that's getting a 3.0
Right.
or 4.0 can't do these low skills, right? They're doing curriculum that's harder than these low skills. And a lot of these people come over here with no skills. Forget the low skills. They come over here with no skills and get free training. So what I'm saying, just like how people were
Right.
saying defund the police, what they really meant was a reallocation of resources. Reallocate those resources to Americans that are already here, kids that are already struggling and already marginalized, and then we can look to saving the world. You know what I mean? If your house is messy, it doesn't
Yep.
make sense for you to come over and help me clean my house, and then you go back to a messy house where you're stepping on stuff. And then when I come over, I'm gonna be like, damn, man, you didn't clean your house. If you give me an excuse of, oh, well, I was helping everybody else, that's not going to be a valid excuse, right? So if we're over here giving everyone jobs, allowing the exploitation to go on, allowing the human trafficking to go on, for what? So you can say, oh, I got cheaper strawberries. I don't mind paying more for strawberries if it's going to provide living wages for people, right? You got biggest like
Right.
Elon, we need more white babies. How are you going to get more white babies if you don't even want to pay the white men? Go ahead, Brian.
Right. No, I'm with you. And just to add on your comment, I got, my one of my best friends is Filipino. He's as pro-Trump as ever. First gen, parents immigrated here. Wonderful people. And he's as pro-American as anyone else, pro-Trumper, and he's agrees with any kind of border lockdown and things like that because he understands, in most and it's actually a slap in the face to even DACA immigrants that have been waiting to to get in this to be of legal status or have their paperwork done, for what's going on. And Trump's stupidity with saying, well, we'll lay off the farmers and hotel. No, absolutely not. There are legal visas. There's agricultural visas. There's hospitality visas that I personally interviewed, done English interviews for. I know all the processes of these visas. You have to have companies in the United States that sponsor these people, bring them over legally. All of them are vetted. All of them are interviewed by the embassies. All of them have stamped passports, and they have temporary status to work in the country, travel a little bit, and then head home when they're done. That's as simple as it can get. And for the companies that legally use these visas, they have to go through a process. And in this process, they need to prove that they actually need the workers, which a lot of them do, such as, a lot of them, go to California. For example, your state has many of them that work in the ski industry, the ski resorts. Well, that's a crappy job for most Americans. Let's be honest. It's only 3 months worth of work and then it's over. So they do fill a lot of needed positions where a lot of people like to go skiing and do recreational activity, but they don't cause any harm because when you correctly hire visa applicants and things like that, you legally are required to still continue to hire Americans. So you can't pull your advertisements for employment away. So you still hire Americans. You actually have to, but there's ways to do things. And if you don't follow the law, you need to be punished. And severely.
Exactly.
And I
Both
am
parties.
just to finish up real quick. I'm sorry to hog the space here.
No, now you're
But
good. You got the floor.
no person is entitled to labor. You're entitled to invest. You're entitled to open a business, but you are not entitled to labor. So you're not entitled this liberal policy of, well, I want a cupcake shop, but I don't want to manage, run it, or work in it. No, you're not entitled to that. And if you are, guess what? Pay high wages for Americans to work in your cupcake shop. You're not entitled to a cupcake shop ever. Sorry to go on the rant, guys.
Okay, yeah. So let me just give some salutations to the chat. We got Ozzy in here. Salute to the brother Ozzy. He says, story of the great United States of a slave labor, collect the bag. Yes, so even when they ended slavery,
Yeah.
they actually didn't end it, because if you look at the 13th Amendment, it gives the exception. It's just like, hey, I'm gonna stop beating you up, but once you add the but, you're admitting that you're going to continue to keep abusing me. So once they say, hey, slavery is abolished, except or but if you're in jail, so it's never ended. And we got the lovely Fire here, says happy Saturday or Sunday, wherever you all are. So salute to the chat and anybody that comes in. And then Ozzy also says, add to the U.S. getting involved outside the borders and overseas. Got so many alliances and debts through trade and industry alone. That's some reason we get involved. Well, yeah, I always tell people groups don't have allies. They have interests. America always talks about protecting its interests. Now, a lot of times they are lying and propagandizing what their actual interests are to get us on board, to say, hey, our interest is in bombing Iran. Like, no, that has no interest for me, but they say it to persuade the public that this is what you should want, like to blindly support Israel is in America's interest, but they can't explain to you how. They just start Bible thumping and you should shut up and kind of bend the knee. But we did touch on a lot of things. And back to what you said about being legal and fair, they already have a multitude of visas that people could come over here, work. They sent the last time I checked, there were over $450 billion worth of remittances sent back to various countries. So many immigrants are coming over here and then they're sending money back to their countries where their dollar goes further, which that's perfectly fine. So what is the issue of them having a visa where they earn American dollars and go back to a more thriving situation? Because the majority of people coming over here are seeking better pay. I could interview somebody in Oakland that wants better pay. I can go to Portland, Oregon. They want better pay.
Right.
No one is obligated because this is the land of milk and honey and you want better pay, because, people will come and say, hey, I'm fleeing gang violence. Don't they always say, what about Chicago? Right? So there's gangs in Chicago, but the people in Chicago, they have nowhere to go, right? There's no resources for the people in Chicago.
Right.
Pull yourself up by your bootstrap. But if there's gang violence in Tijuana or Bogota, then suddenly there's bleeding heart and we have to let them all over here. This is not according to me. This is according to the asylum judges. They say 90% of the asylum claims are rejected because they don't have a legitimate ground to seek it. So that's why many people prefer to just come here and be undocumented and then have kids, which is why the term, whether you agree with it or not, anchor baby, that's where that term comes from, because you're anchored here. Now you have multiple kids and they pull on your heartstrings. How could you deport the kids? The kids are Americans. Now they have 4 kids, but it's like that is a sad story and it would make for a great Lifetime movie. However, what do they always tell black people? Why didn't you just comply? We're a nation of laws, right? And then when you flip it and say, why didn't they just comply? And it's like they had to feed their family. Yeah, so was the dude selling weed on the corner. He wasn't selling that because of rap video. He was selling it to feed his family. He got locked up. But you want me to say that the person that came here illegally shouldn't be detained? And they're not even locking them up. They're detaining them and saying, hey, we'll send you back. So the whole resistance is that they don't want to go back. The country, they're burning the American flag and flying foreign flags. So it's like, okay, cool, we'll just send you back to that foreign nation. It's like, no, don't send me back. It's like, what? And shout out to
Right.
John Sinatra in the chat. One of the realest and the illest. And Fire, I'm gonna go ahead and give you a mod stick. I don't know. I might have to go to my YouTube, but go ahead, speak on what I just said, Brian, if you want to add anything.
Yeah, I would like to piggyback on that. You know, we addressed the corporate side of it and the business owner side of it. Now it's gone to the, you know, the sympathizers of, you know, the immigrants, such as, you know, the leftist bleeding heart liberals. You know, if you look at some of the left, like the big heavy hitters of, you know, influencers and media personalities, they're filthy rich. So you look at like Crystal Ball and Kyle Kulinski and stuff like that, they come from money. All of them come, you know, Marianne Williamson, Jill Stein, all money. It's very easy to welcome in people that you don't live near. And it sounds crass and it sounds terrible, but you know what? You live on the Upper East Side. You live in Beverly Hills. You live in all these other communities.
It's like you don't speak for me. Hold on, I just want to address the chat because Fire says all Oregon wants and needs is better pay. That's true. All the Oregonians need is better pay. So you can't bring in to your point of like the lefty liberals, right? They'll be like the fight for 15, which 15 is not a living wage nowhere, right? So then they'll be fighting and say the minimum wage should be $30 an hour, and then cool. Then they'll also be fighting for more illegal immigration, which if they did pass $30 an hour minimum wage, the employer would undercut the wages.
You fight to dilute the pool.
It's insane, bro. And John says you cooking tonight. I appreciate that, bro. I got my chef hat on. You know, I'm just channeling my inner Sinatra. And B, he talking to you too, man. You are definitely cooking. And now you got the mod, you got that wrench.
I appreciate it.
Don't abuse it. You feel me? But yeah, go ahead, Brian.
Yeah, it's amazing the bleeding heart liberals, you know, that love, you know, they just come here for hard work. I'm going to tell you, if you get experience in South America, come down, you know, go to different parts of the world, and we can easily see that first of all, you have to have money to be an immigrant. To think that these are the most poor, downtrodden, you know, people coming to the United States, you got to be smoking something, because you're not showing up with an iPhone and brand new pressed jeans to the border.
Bro, some of them was dressed better than me. I seen some where I was like, damn. I was like, them Jordans clean, bro. Like, bro had some. So I seen like a Venezuelan migrant had the exclusive. I was like, are those the Gamma 12s? Like, bro came over here clean. And they even 60 Minutes and some other. This is when Biden had the border wide open. There was an influx of Chinese immigrants, and they were like the super wealthy ones, like the top cream of the crop. Yeah. And they didn't go the legal way because the legal way was, you know, it's a extensive process, and anyone can look this up. Don't take my word for it and think that I'm being xenophobic. No. 60 Minutes and other major outlets reported on this because the border was wide open. So there was a massive influx of Chinese immigrants, but it wasn't the poor, downtrodden, oppressed from the communist dictator. No, these were the affluent people that have generational wealth, and they came across the border illegally. And Border Patrol said that when the Chinese were there, they would be separate. So the Chinese immigrants wouldn't even be with any of the African, Caribbean, or the Hispanics. So all of this people of color talk, they separated them. They had their own hotels And and then there was a time where immigrants did actually have to come over here, and then they had to make something. But there's always been NGOs and programs that are specifically designed for immigrants. You know what I mean? So if you're an American citizen, white, black, or otherwise, you don't have access to that. But if you're an immigrant, they have all sorts of refugee resettlement fees. Even right now, just look at LA, right? When they said Trump is the ICE is like the Gestapo, they're comparing ICE to the Nazis, right? California took out a 50
Right.
million legal fund just to defend migrants. You know how many people was in jail that's wrongfully convicted? There's no fund for them. But suddenly there's a 50 million
No.
floating around for non-citizens. And now Karen Bass announced that, oh, the families of these raids are traumatized. So now these NGOs and they keep saying, oh, it's not taxpayer money, it's from NGO. But you and I know
Reparations
that
for immigrants.
pretty much, and you and I both know that what they do is they funnel taxpayer dollars to NGOs and nonprofits, and then say, "Oh no, it wasn't
Right.
taxpayer dollars; it was philanthropy." Like, could you speak on that? Have you heard about any of that?
Oh, absolutely. The Catholic and Lutheran con, my mother's, I talked talked to them, months ago about, man, don't be donating to them churches and stuff like that, because they are basically they gobbled up lots of funds, especially a lot of those Catholic charities, and working like they had one Catholic charity down like Arizona working with like a gang leader. They were picking up people from the airport that had flown in, and they're being, and this is part of, the one and only benefit of some of those alt-right, people is they started to dig into investigating some of the church scams as far as bringing in immigrants. And, they had put these people on camera, and, of course, mum's the word, in a blacked out van, tinted windows, pulling people out of the airport. And they're picking up people left and right at the airports, flying in. But these Catholic, I'm to the point now where, okay, you're going to start getting taxed. So if you're taking money from the congregation and moving that money overseas to charities that are not tracked, guess what? The churches are getting taxed, just like
Yes,
NGOs and college endowments.
because it's no longer
I'm
nonprofit.
taking heads.
Yes, it's no longer
No.
nonprofit. And let me get to the chat real quick. Fire says, so I can't say stuff like I will beat you with my wrench. Yeah, you can say that. It all depends on the context. What is the context of you beating me with the wrench? Is that an innuendo? Do tell. And we got John Sinatra in here. And if any of y'all want to chime in on the discussion, just let me know. And then we got none other than Michael Pan. He says, how are you doing today? I'm great. And actually, Michael comes from an immigrant background, and he is actually a fierce fighter for reparations. And he also talks about the anti-blackness that he's seen among the immigrant community. He is able to compartmentalize and say, no, it's not all, right? Because people like to say, you can't generalize. No, it's not all, but it's enough to be problematic. It's enough to be a significant issue that people need to speak about. So salute Michael Pan, because he's always standing on business.
Yeah, for sure.
So I could always respect that. And, my whole thing is, like you said, there are some industries that you may need an influx of quick labor or imported labor, but just the numbers are like astronomical, tens of millions of illegal, undocumented, unauthorized, however you want to say it. That is not helping my community. And then when they do try to say, oh,
No.
well, it contributes to the GDP. When they say it contributes to the GDP, all that's saying is that it helps the big wigs and the oligarchs. That's essentially what they're saying, right? And it's like just be plain with it. They try to say also, oh, immigrants are just doing the jobs that Americans don't want to do. Did you know there's no job sector that immigrants are the majority of the workforce? Now, there are significant workforces that they dominate, but these are industries that are handpicked for them. And all of those industries we used to do, right? Construction. There were tons of black people that did construction, but when they say, hey, we want cheap labor and this is the demographic that's going to provide it for us, then they go after that group. And I coined a term, I call it MAE, mutually agreed exploitation. Many of these people come over and they know that they're being exploited, but it's a mutual agreement, almost like a pimp and a hoe, right? You're like, why is this hoe with this abusive person, right? Well, she know that the benefits of the detriment of being with him is outweighed by the benefits, right? Some women are saying, hey, if you're going to be crying anyways, I'd rather be crying in a Bentley than in a bucket. So a lot of these people know, like, yeah, they're going to treat me like crap and exploit me. But if I send this exploited money back to my country, right, that is a boon for my economy, a boon for my family. So it's a mutually agreed upon exploitation. And then they're once they come over here, it's not to build a coalition with Americans, it's to get more of their people in. So that's why you see all these NGOs fighting for more immigrants. And hey, that's fine, but it's like you're fighting for more immigrants to displace native populations. That's where it's not okay. And I don't know if you've seen this, because once you talk like this, people say it's xenophobic. And this is one of the goofiest phrases, but people love to say it. No one is illegal on stolen land. Like, so what the hell does that even mean? Because technically Mexico was stolen land, right? So could I just waltz into Mexico because it's stolen land? No. You know that Mexico right now, they're complaining about digital nomads and the gringos coming over here raising up the cost. Have you seen that? So Mexico doesn't want open borders. However, we should have open borders and let people from, because it's not all Mexicans that are coming through, but it's coming from the southern Mexican border, right? We should just open it up because no one's illegal on stolen land. Another thing, they'll say, well, California was Mexico. California was owned longer by Spain. So shouldn't we let more Spaniards in? You see what I'm saying? It gets a little bit goofy. And then on top of that, people will come and then they'll want to get dropped off in New York or Michigan. And they're like, no one was legal on stolen. It's like, who was Michigan stolen from? You know what I mean? Like, who stole New York from you? And then let's just say it was stolen from your specific lineage. What the hell does that have to do with someone from Honduras? What the hell does that have to do with someone from Bangladesh? So because you believe the land is stolen, now that means someone from Nepal should just be able to waltz here? Could you speak on that?
Yeah, and it might be controversial, and I might ruffle some feathers. So,
beware.
Yeah, Native Americans have been paid reparations. They've been given land. They've been given college educations. They've been given health care, and they're done with. They are paid in full. They have received the reparations. It's no longer stolen. It has been paid for. The debt has been paid. They have casino licenses. It is not anyone else's fault if they've been left behind in their communities. Basically, many of them were forced to stay because they didn't want to give up their customs. Okay, that's fair. But you cannot be angry at that those days are over. And most of the people that are saying that are white liberals or white leftists that have no clue what they're talking about. The days are done. I'm sorry, they've been paid. The only people that are owed reparations are Black American freedmen. And unless you're talking about reparations for them, I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it. So, yeah. I've heard that over and over again, I get really I get tired of it because I see it often online, and it's people that just forget the entire history of what went on in the United States.
And not only that,
sorry about that, but that's
nah,
just the way it is.
no, that was an alley oop. That was a great segue, because just when Biden got into office, he gave 32 billion with the B, 32 billion with the B to tribal nations. So it was only to tribal nations, right? And I'm
Right.
like, hey, fine, if you want to give that to them, but you're setting a legal precedent that, hey, you do have the money, right? No one is calling them victims. No one is saying quit begging the government, right? And not only that, I seen a report that said, depending on the reservation, or I think it was a collective of reservations, they said some are generating upwards of like 30 billion per year. You know, with the casino, people staying there, the resorts, the food, etc. So you've already
Yep.
showed the precedent. And peep this. This is what they say for American freedmen of slaves. I never owned any slaves, and you were never a slave, right? I never genocided any Native Americans. I never gave any of them smallpox. I never stole any of their land. But yet my taxpayer dollar keeps going to them. And no one makes that argument towards them. No one says, oh, that was a long time ago. People every year they keep saying it was their land. It's like we stole their land. Like, who was we? I didn't. So people will say we stole their land, but they won't say we enslaved freedmen, right? Black American, African American. We don't use that term, but you get what I'm saying, right? They won't say we enslaved them, but they will.
Indians enslaved freedmen.
Come on, Choctaw. You can go in, depending on which reports. Some of them were even more brutal, and there were a lot of treaties that said, here, we'll give you a treaty as long as you exclude the blacks. There were many indigenous aboriginal melanated people that got reclassified as Negro, so they abandoned and I'm not saying every tribe, but it was enough of them, and there's no one that speaks out against this today. You know, if they are, their voices are shunned and marginalized, right? There wasn't a contingent of people saying, oh no, we shouldn't treat them like that. Even when they talk about the Trail of Tears, right? On the Trail of Tears, they don't talk about the slaves that they were transporting on that trail. Like
Right.
that part just gets left out. You see what I'm saying? So all of these bleeding hearts is like, nah, and then the Holocaust happened for 12 years. Slavery happened over 200 plus years, and then 100 plus years of Jim Crow. So never forget a Holocaust that happened in a different country, but get over slavery, right? But also back to the Native Americans. No one tells them to get over it, right? Get over it. You've been paid. It just goes back to it was their land. It's like, bro, they're constantly being compensated. You can argue that they should be compensated more. Fine, give them more. But you can't say that they should be compensated more and we should get zero, right? You can go a
Right.
list of black.
How much more?
That you would have to ask the lefty liberals. You'd have to ask them that.
like
In perpetuity.
Again, it's the same. It's the same. We'll get on the MAGA later, but man, it's the same goofiness of these. They literally forget about everything, and when you're sipping on Starbucks, sitting in your parents' vacation homes, it's very easy to be a social justice warrior. In 2020, they pretended they were for BLM, which that's. They were again marching for them. They always want to be oppressed. They deliberately, they actually want to argue that they are just as susceptible to police violence. And I got in an argument with a leftist, like you can't be serious. The only people that have had suffered from police violence is Black American freedmen. You can't possibly say you're white and say, well, we've had police violence done to us. Majority of the time that there's been police violence on whites, is because they deliberately put themselves in that situation. If I'm out there going crazy in a protest, and I'm pushing and shoving with a police officer, you know, you have, you know, they treated you mild. Look at the 60s when they put dogs on the Black Americans that were protesting peacefully in the streets. So don't ever equate white progressive with, you know, we've suffered from police violence and you know, ACAB, what is it, ACAB or whatever the heck they talk about.
Yeah, yeah. All
You know,
cops, all cops
they
are
were the main,
bastards.
yeah, yeah. They were the main goofies in a majority black controlled and run city of Atlanta, talking about Cop City. A bunch of disgruntled white youth sparking up false outrage. Just a bunch of bullshit. And that's what they do constantly. Pride, you know, that's why, you know, I would definitely exclude them people in any kind of movement whatsoever. But
All right, so
I'll stop
let
there
me
at
get
that point.
cool. Let me get to the chat. And shout out to Fire. She says the new Pope said the Vatican was cash poor. And think about this, right? If they see a black person, and let's just say the person had money, and then they they messed the money off for whatever reason, that will be turned into, see, that's just black culture, and they don't have financial literacy. Then suddenly, when Gavin Newsom in the bankers, when they tank the economy, that's not considered white culture. That's not considered elite competence, right? That's not considered oligarchic failure, right? It's just, oh, you win some, you lose some, hey he, But then, like, if one black dude
Right.
gambles away 10,000, suddenly that turns into black culture. Same thing with the Vatican. The Vatican squanders money, right? And they're always funding a lot of these NGOs, which dumps a lot of immigrants into various nations. But suddenly they're cash poor. But no. And what do they always say, right? We can't give you guys reparations because you don't know what to do with money, and you can't just throw money at the problem. Then you look at the Vatican or all of these politicians and political institutions that fail with the money. And guess what they're running on? Give us more money so we won't fail this time. But I thought you can't just throw
Right.
money at the problem. So they always say that when it comes to us, but with them, here, throw money at the problem. You can't throw money at the problem. Oh, but we need to give the police more money. Why? The police aren't doing their job now, but you're saying with more money, they'll be able to do their job. But if you flip it and say, oh, okay, these schools are failing, so give them more money. But instead, they're saying the school is failing, let's take money from them. It's just a goofy type of logic. But Fire also says, I would never say that to you, B. I just meant in general. And then shout out to Fire again. Michael says illegal immigration started under President Ronald Reagan in 1986 because he was against unionized American workers. And
Correct.
Reagan, right? They talk about Reaganomics as just this pinnacle of right wing.
Right.
It's like, was he really right wing? Because he gave a mass amnesty, and that's to attack the workers. Like when and that goes against unions. All those people in the firemen and the police union, they should be against illegal immigration. The thing is, they don't care because there's not going to be a bunch of illegal immigrants in the fire department or the police force, even though California does let non-citizens be police, and Illinois and some other places too. But you get what I'm saying. Like those that they use illegal immigration to union bust to basically thwart the strikes. So it undercuts the workers. Remember, I said earlier, Dems will be fighting for $30 for a living wage, but also fighting for open borders. You're never going to get that $30 if the border stays open, or they're going to pass the $30, hire one person at $30 an hour, and the rest are going to be illegal immigrants. It's like, this shit is not hard to figure out, bro. Michael also says, What areas do you agree with Sabby Sabs on, and what areas do you disagree with her on? I agree with her on most of everything. I don't have a specific a disagreement that I could say per se, but if I did, I would be addressing it right in the moment. But salute to Sabby Sabs. I like Sabs. And John Sinatra says, right?
I like her too.
Yeah, I like Sabby. I'm cool with Sabby, so I have nothing ill to say of her. And I don't need to agree with everyone all the time. I always tell people, whether it's your wife, it's your kid, it's your best friend, you're not gonna agree all the time. So if we agree most of the time, I'd rather build the rapport and forge a solid relationship off of our agreements, and then that way we can discuss the disagreements respectfully. Too many times people jump into the disagreements, it turns into a debate, which turns into a dispute, and now people don't like each other. But it's like, y'all actually agree with most of everything, but it's like you're hung up on your disagreement. And some of the disagreements might be a deal breaker, but always say, at least attempt to find common ground, or just let people have their perspective. Like, we don't all need to be thinking the same. But he did say most immigrants practice anti-black racism and evil forms of capitalism. It's unfortunate. I wish this wasn't the case, but based on my observation, I would have to concur with this. He said Black American freedmen of chattel slavery have not received cash payment, reparations, and other tangibles. No, because before we were going under the goofy terms of African American, people of color, minority, marginalized groups. So, we wanted to help everyone, kumbaya, rising tide lifts all boats, but then everyone else boat was risen to the top and ours was still underwater. And then they just told us, pull yourself up by your bootstrap. So now we're just saying the same thing. You know what? That is what we need to do. So now I'm telling that to the migrants and every other group. It's unfortunate it shouldn't be like this, but it is what it is.
Do you mind if I add to that real quick?
Yeah, go ahead.
The one thing we've talked about in the past is I like to credit those where it's due and when it's due. And for the audience who's listening, when I speak on Black American freedom, and I'm going to be very honest, is this is from listening and learning from Black American freedmen, Naeem Way, Ali, and Marcel Dixon. They're the ones that have welcomed me in spaces and where I've learned from. But just to shout out, BTP, Be the Power. They have a whole Freedmen, United Sons and Daughters of Freedmen website, just to shout them out. Real good group of guys. That's where my knowledge comes from. So just, I know a lot of whites like to pat themselves on the back and, oh yeah, I'm down and stuff like that. And, I support from the back like I should. I'm not a mouthpiece, but that is where I get my knowledge from. So just so if you guys want to know where that comes from.
Yeah, and you going straight to the source. You're not going to the bought and paid bootlicks and shills. Mark Lamont Shill, who I call Moist Lamont Shill, Roland Martin, D.L. Hughley. These people are not dumb. It's just they're shills for the Democrats. So if you really want to get the pulse of the grassroots of people that are freedmen, FBA, you got to go to the source, and the source is not going to be on any mainstream outlet. But before we move on
Grassroots only.
Exactly. But before we move on to another topic, I also want to just talk about the exaggeration of the impact of what Trump is actually doing right now with deportation. What Trump is doing in terms of deportations is a drop in the bucket. No one has to take my word for it. Y'all can look this up. I've took the liberty of looking it up for y'all. According to the most recent reports, now these numbers fluctuate, but according to the most recent reports as of July 2025, Trump has deported about 253,000 people. Now you could say, oh, that's a lot of people. but it relative to what? You know what I mean? It pales in comparison to what Barack Obama, who they call the deporter in chief, deported, right? Trump said he wanted to have a goal of 1 million deportations per year. He's nowhere even close to making that, right? One thing I will give Trump is that Trump is a showman. So he is doing more kabuki theater to make it appear that, oh my God, this dude is just Kim Jong Un, running the United States. But when you dig into the numbers, he really hasn't deported that many people. And mind you, why is there always a H? When people say you caught it in 4K, it's 8K. Why is there always a 8K crystal clear camera every time there's an ice raid, right? Like, who is tipping ICE off? You can't tell me that the news people just know everywhere they're going to be and they're perfectly positioned. Why are they focusing on LA only? Now, these are rhetorical questions. We know why, because they say ask goes California, ask goes the nation. Pretty much the same with New York. What happens in New York and LA is a microcosm of what they're trying to push around the entire country. Whether people allow that to happen is a different thing, but they do try to set the standard in that regard, but they're just keep fixating on LA ice race, LA this, you know what I mean? What does somebody in Texas or Louisiana care about LA ice rates? They don't, until they make it into theater and it turns into like a soap opera. And then that's where all the bleeding hearts are coming in. And, oh, what he's doing is horrible. He's not even sniffing close to what Obama was doing in towards deportations. They're calling them concentration camps, saying he's kidnapping and disappearing people. And then you start looking into the backgrounds. It's like, damn, this dude was a rapist. One dude they said one dude had he had like 5 murders in back of his home country, but he was able to come over here. They have all sorts of they said they have thousands of people that was on a terrorist watch list. Now, does this mean everyone that came over there? No, but it means that open borders was an issue. And I just want to say that Trump he's not really doing that many deportations, and people are just panicking as if, he is the guy with the funny mustache. Could you speak on that?
Yeah. I mean, you're exactly right. His numbers have actually disappointed many of the alt-right and far-right people. That's for sure.
Hey, Stephen Miller is pissed.
I am right. In defense of that, though, is past administrations have never had the aggressiveness to fight against. Like no one dared question Obama. Biden quietly got rid of people that were, that come in, obviously not nearly what he should have after just letting the borders open. But the fight against the deportations, like Trump's first administration, they also fought against, and they all ducked into like, the sanctuary cities. When the sanctuary cities, most people don't know is they've redefined sanctuary cities. Sanctuary cities, you can still deport. What it means is that the illegal can report a crime against them or against others that they have witnessed without repercussions of deportation.
And not only that,
hold
on, let me add this real quick, Brian, because you just wanted me to touch on something. They have a specific, some sort of type of provisional visa where if, like, let's say you beat up someone that came here illegally, they have something special where they can say, essentially they feared for their life. So now they can be fast-tracked citizenship, or they can have their visa extended. based on them being a victim or targeted, and they make it very broad. They can say, oh, they were targeted because they were Jewish, or they were targeted because they're Venezuelan, or Trump said the Kung flu, they're Asian, so they're targeted. So now we have to let them stay longer. They have visas, and they have specific processes to do that. So some people kind of will incite a situation, you know what I mean? Because if you beat up an illegal immigrant,
Yep.
you're a citizen, right? Automatically, you're going to come off as the bully and be considered xenophobic. So I just want to add that. Go ahead, bro.
Oh, for sure, for sure. So, he's not, no president has had that much pushback against the immigration, or deportation, I should say. But I think if they just continued working on it, and a lot of people have self-deported, which is good. Just to finish up on the immigration stuff, it's one of those things where it's important that we stay on it. We can't forget about it. Unfortunately, there's not. It hurts everyone. The only one that benefits is either the hyper-capitalist, the liberal, the NGO, and the religious organizations. And some new laws could take place where that could end it real quick, and taxation would definitely do it.
All
I
right,
don't know if
cool.
you
So
want to add any more to that.
let me just get to the chat. We got Fire coming back saying I'm titling an article that's in B's honor. Thank you. I appreciate that. Make sure you send me that article. Sometimes I think we
Nice.
aren't calling out the Bible thumping, Jeebus loving folks enough. And that is true. And I guess we'll get into that when we start talking about the MAGA and the
I'm
woke
getting
right.
to there.
Okay. So it's coming up, Fire. And then Michael says Greg Marcel Dixon is done with electoral politics. He is now focusing on going hard for cash payment reparations for Black American freedmen of chattel slavery. Salute to Marcel Dixon. I actually was on a panel with him at Sabby Sabs, actually. So I respect that brother. He's a
That's where I
solid
found you.
one. Oh yeah, salute, man. Yeah, like I said, Sabby and Marcel, those is good people to me. But Michael Pan, it looks like he has a question. Michael Pan has a question for you, Mr. BT. How did you hear about cash payment reparations for Black American freedmen of chattel slavery? Was there a specific event? What was your reason to support cash payment reparations for slavery? So that was a question directed towards you, bro.
Great question. So I jumped on Twitter in 2022. Kind of, I was always a Trump MAGA guy, but I was kind of trying to figure out the room on what was going on, why, it just seemed like a lot of the policies would benefit mostly all communities. And then so I was really interested, and I, on my own, was communicating with a lot of Black Americans in, engaging in different conversations and listening. And actually, the first person wasn't Otto's person. That it was just a political conversation. They said, all we want is our reparations. And that I was kind of confused on. I really didn't know. So what I did was well, what do you want? And then he actually sent me a link, which was cool. I was like, awesome. So I read through it. And I was like, all right, made a lot of sense. And then I was in Sonny Johnson's space back 2023 maybe. And Naeem Way, Marcel Dixon in there speaking. And they started to speak on reparations. Immediately started following them. I did at the same time started following Tariq Nasheed. But Naeem had really been the most, him and Marcel, the most detailed and methodically went there. And the reason what got me on reparations is they didn't shame, they didn't blame, and that's a big part of. They didn't blame, like, this isn't a white thing. This is a government debt. This is not you don't owe you. We know you didn't do anything to harm us. This is what the government's owed, and that's where it started. And I continue to listen to those guys, and it just makes sense. It just makes sense. I agree with it, and yeah, if you have any more questions, I'd be glad to answer.
Yeah, no, I thought that was a pretty thorough answer. And there's really no legitimate argument against that. And we got none other than the lovely Miss Polly Wright. Miss Polly, you always looking right. And thanks for coming through and delivering some righteous spirit. Appreciate you. Yeah, there's really no legitimate argument against it because there's been historical precedent. All of the talking points can be debunked. A lot of it is just people are anti-black. I'd rather just people stand on that. Just say you hate black people and you don't want us to get anything because Citigroup is no fan of black people, but Citigroup, I don't know where they are in the ranking now, but it is a top 3 financial institution in the world, Craig. Citigroup said that if reparations were paid to foundational Black American Negro freedmen, descendants of U.S. chattel slavery, if they were paid to us, that it would be a boost, not a hindrance, a boost to the economy to the tune of $5 trillion. So all of the fiscal conservatives, right, they're always looking for ways and talking about GDP. And not only that, freedmen are not immigrants, right? So there's not going to be any remittances. And it's weird because they have no issues with immigrants sending the money out and billions going out, but they have an issue with freedmen keeping the money here and building up here, right? They'll say, you guys are going to buy fried chicken in Jordans. There's not that much fried chicken in Jordans to buy. And if that's the case, if you could predict this, yeah, and that's what I'm saying. So, so when they pay Jewish people, no one cares what they're going to do with the money. They pay Native American, no one cares what they do with the money. They're paying illegal immigrants, no one cares, but they play freedmen. What are you guys going to do with the money? You need to take a financial literacy course before you go. Oh, where are you going to move? Are you going to be moving into white neighborhood? I'm like, God damn, like, why do you care? You don't even live next towards blacks anyway, so why would you care? And some people, it's just you keep complaining. What about Chicago? Okay, you know what will fix Chicago? If there were more funded schools, if people could afford a tutor, reparations will fix all that stuff, right? We can have more parks, we can have more playgrounds. Oh no, I don't want to pay. So okay, we'll just deal with the crime, deal with the poverty and depravity. They complain about that. You try to fix the issue. And when I say fix the issue, you have to put direct investments into people. You don't give the money to Gavin Newsom and say, hey, we gave Gavin Newsom billions and he didn't fix homelessness, because they weren't trying to fix it. That's why nothing got fixed. You were talking about like Red Cross and these other type of charities earlier. Most of them, they pay like 90% administration costs. So if you donate $1, 90 cents is going to admin costs. So it's like, once again, keep doing that same math. You donate $100, 90 of it is going to admin costs. Like, no, how about you give this person? And they've done studies where once people get money directly, that it changes their fortunes for the better. But they fearmonger and say, oh, you're bad with money and you're just going to spend that. Even if we were all bad with money, that's irrelevant to a debt owed. Imagine there was a rape victim, right? And she happened to be bad with money. Are you going to deny her justice because she's not as frugal as you, right? It would be anti-Semitic to say every Jewish person is good with money, right? So that would have to mean that some are not so good with money. Does that matter when you're paying them out for the injustices they endured with the Holocaust? No, it doesn't matter with anybody until it comes with us. So all of the talking points are super goofy, and I can debunk them easily. And yeah, I'm sophisticated, but I'm not a prestigious scholar, Rhodes Scholar that went to some Ivy League and got a master. I'm self-taught, self-educated. You know what I mean? I read books. I learn from the experience. And shout out to my big Brody Yuckmouth. He said this: life is college. We were talking and he said, yeah, life is college. You know what I mean? It's like essentially you're going through life, you know, you're trying to graduate to different periods of your life. You know what I mean? So salute all the
Right.
people in the chat that is watching.
For sure.
Unless and what else he says? He says, I understand because Philip Scott, the host of the African Diaspora News Channel, said white people don't like them, but they can't stay away from Black Americans due to spending. Yes, a lot of people that hate us. So, for instance, if we were such violent, savage thugs, why do all of these immigrants, when they first come here, what neighborhood do they get it popping at? Definitely not no white neighborhood. The whites don't even want them over there. So they come to a Black neighborhood and say, you're violent thugs. It's like, why the hell are you in our neighborhood then? Then when we say, all right, well, get the hell out of our neighborhood, then they say, that's xenophobic. It's just a damned if you do, damned if you don't. Even when people are saying, oh, in BLM, they were destroying their businesses. Actually, it wasn't all Black people. And then a bunch of those businesses weren't even owned by Black people, so they didn't give a shit. I'm not saying that's right or wrong, but they didn't care because it wasn't their a staple of their community. But all of these people, like, you know what I mean? Imagine me saying the jungle is too dangerous, and it's like, let's have a picnic. Where are you gonna have the picnic at? In the jungle? Hold on, the jungle that you just said was dangerous? So that's what they try to do. Blacks are low IQ savages. Where are you going to start your business at? In the Black neighborhood? You mean with the low IQ savages? Like, they must not be that thuggish, right? They must not be that broke if you want to live over there and extract the dollars. And if that is what you want to do, then just say that. Just say that we don't like you and we want to extract resources. That is what will get more people on code. And it's like, fine, just let your Asian brethren support you. And since you hate us, you hate our guts, then that will galvanize us to actually forcibly have to practice group economics. We should be doing it voluntarily and willingly, but sometimes, you know, people need a bit of a nudge. You know what I mean? And shout out to my boy John.
Right.
Exactly. But yeah, go ahead. We can touch on, you know, some of the other topics.
Yeah, you know, with you know that was the young woman brought up Christianity and the far right, MAGA right. Let's go for that. They're done. They're toast.
Yeah. So
I would be glad to talk about that.
Okay. So and I just dropped the link if anybody wants to come up. But if you come up, then, you know, try to be concise and precise. You know, I don't want to have to mute you, but, you know, I will have to interject, you know, because this is mainly, you know, I'm being respectful of Brian's time. So he's going to have the floor, you know, but anyone can chime in the discussion. But like, if I got to cut you off or tighten it up, it's no disrespect. It's just, you know, for the time constraints. But yeah, so we're joined by an illustrious guest, Michael Pan.
Hi, Big Easy, that dude, and BT.
Hey, Michael.
Hey, how you guys doing?
Hey.
Doing great so far.
Yeah, now we're doing good, man. Thank you for tuning into the stream. And you know, we were about to transition into another topic, but before we do, could you give like a brief statement of, you know, because I knew you were mentioning like the anti-blackness in immigrant communities, and sometimes when it's done from, you know, when it's done from Brian, a white guy, he's just a racist bigot and a Nazi sympathizer. It's done from me, you know, I'm just a hateful Black that's trying to, you know what I mean? I'm a self-loathing Black that's trying to get in good with the colonizers. So Michael Pan, you coming from an immigrant background, you know firsthand. So they can't really try to say, oh, you don't know what you're talking about. Like, no, actually, I do. You know, I speak different languages, you know what I mean? So I'm interacting with the immigrants. So I could tell you what their sentiment is like, because some people don't believe. They say that the anti-Blackness is overblown. Stop acting like a victim. You are only saying it's only like one person. It's like, actually not really. I could see the political apparatus that the anti-blackness is entrenched. So briefly, before we move on to our next subject, could you speak on that, some of what you were talking about in the chat? Go
Yeah,
ahead, Mike.
absolutely. Yes, thank you. Thank you guys for allowing me to join in this conversation. I think this is very important because we can't say that it's we can't say it's white people's fault. It's other groups' fault outside of the white race, meaning Asians, Hispanics, Indians, Arabs, and Jewish people. I could go on, but I'm going to pertain to the Asians with the anti-black racism in most Asian American communities and of course globally, right? Because most Asian people, most Asian countries were colonized by the West. England, Dutch, Portuguese. So when those Western countries colonized the Asian continent, Western countries spread anti-black racism among Asian people. So before Asians came to America, they already had anti-black racism. And I think the problem from the past generation of the civil rights era, they thought that the immigrants who came to America were okay. Yeah, they're kind of our people. They went through a lot what we've been through initially, right? And like what you said, Big Easy and Sabi and Philip Scott, and of course Dimitri K and Donovan. Over time, most immigrants don't really reckon with the black don't reckon with their past because it's like addiction, like a drug, right? It's so hard for them to change their mindset, combat anti-black racism because it's like in their DNA, right? It's like most Asian people, not all of them, feel like, okay, the only way we can get ahead in America is we got to worship white people because white people are at the top of the economic ladder. They provide resources with strings attached. And so Asian people feel, okay, if we want to survive in this country, we gotta comply with anti-black racism. And so white people that we're good enough to be, to be close, to have proximity to whiteness. And it has not changed. And it's very funny, even though most Asian people voted Democrats in the last 20, well, it actually started in 1996, but by 2000, more Asians became more liberal. However, their anti-black racism has not this has basically it has not ameliorated, and it's still there. It's just that their anti-black racism is more like covert. In other words, Asian people are more likely to show who they are as opposed to telling who they are. So it's more or less like what Philip Scott says about movements, right? Accents, thinking, and it's of course it's playing chess. And those things are actually more worse than someone who is overtly racist. Because with someone who's overtly racist, yeah, you're already ready before getting ready. But with a covert racist, especially with like the immigrants, it's very hard to get ready before you get ready because you don't know what's going to happen. You don't know if you're going to survive or not. And for most Asian people, I've educated some of them. Some of them do support reparations in theory, but in reality, they're very skeptical. Unfortunately, like white people, they say, yes, yes, reparations are owed to the American freedmen, chattel slavery, but is it going to happen in our lifetime? I don't think so. And then this is why I pushed back. I said, if you say reparations is not going to happen for Black American freedmen, why is that other groups, Japanese Americans, Native Americans, migrants, Jewish people have received tangibles, and they did not need additional studies after coming to the USA for less than a year, and they're getting a head start. But for Black American freemen, they've been here for 400 years and counting. They can't even get like one substance, and it's like they had to fight to get resources. And so I'm still continuing to work on, reparations. And yes, of course, have I received pushback from progressives? Yes, I have. And I explained to progressives like we're not going to get to universal policies unless we address reparations first. Why? Because both universal policies and reparations very unpopular with members of Congress and the president. But I always say this to the Asians and of course other progressives: if we really want to get universal policies, let's start reparations first, and then we can get to universal policies. Why? Because universal policies intensely excluded Black American freedmen since 1945, when Harry Truman introduced universal health care to Congress. And of course, polling. When polling asked Americans in, I think, what, 19, maybe the late 40s, don't remember the time, I said, hey, if Black American freedmen were included in universal health care, do you support it or are you against it? And majority of white Americans said, yeah, we're against universal health care because it's going to benefit Black Americans more than us white people. And so that's why I emphasize we got to address reparations first, because when Black American freedmen were excluded from the New Deal programs, yeah, they lost a lot in wealth. If they were not excluded from New Deal programs, I think they would have accumulated more in wealth, or have accumulated more in wealth, and close the economic, close the wealth disparities with
The racial wealth gap. Yeah, let me let me get in on here, Michael. Thank you for that. But let me just get to the chat real quick. But because I know John had a question specifically for Brian, and he says, has Brian received any backlash from racists who are against reparations from so-called Black Americans? I think he kind of spoke to that, and we can touch on, that as we're transitioning into talking about, the MAGA cult and, the America Last policies. And Fire says, in the Vietnamese community, I witnessed too much racism. My ex's mom just shrugged and said, war happens. Yeah, a lot of communities, like Michael was saying, is anti-Black, and they are just like, yeah, that's just how we are. You just got to deal with it. And it's like, okay, that's fine. But if you can't on one hand say, oh, that's just in the nature or the history or the culture to be anti-Black, and then someone turns around and then you're like, stop Asian hate, xenophobia. It's like, man, we just giving you the same energy. And even with the whole like Asian hate thing, this is kind of what they're doing with the Jewish things too. It's like a sleight of hand on words. They don't talk about, instead of crimes, they'll say incident. You know what an incident is? Someone saying free Palestine or talking about infantada. They considering that an anti-Semitic incident, So a lot of, even during the hate crimes, people were saying Kung Flu, go back to China. They were considering that hate incidents. Right. Meanwhile, there were like Black people that were actually getting slaughtered. There was I think his name was Peyton Gendron. Some white supremacists went and shot up the Buffalo market. And what Biden did was he invited some Korean K-pop group to talk about Asian hate that just was non-existent.
Oh, yeah.
And not only that, they gave them millions of dollars to combat that. They just gave the Jewish community over 500 different organizations, 94 million to combat anti-Semitism. But I thought you just can't throw money at the problem. So when it comes to us, we can't get a hate crime, and we can't get any compensation to protect us from hate, because pull yourself up by your bootstraps. But with Jewish people, who is a well-established, affluent community, oh yeah, we need to help them with tens of millions of dollars. So that's why I said there's no legitimate argument to try to be against it. It's just blatant anti-Blackness, which for me, I prefer people to stand on that. You feel me? Call me the N-word with the hard ER, call me a jungle monkey, all of that stuff. I prefer that, because you're doing it behind the scenes anyways, right? So I don't want you to smile in my face, call me that behind scenes with the legislation to denigrate and disenfranchise me. Just call me that up front, so now I know to steer clear from you, and I can better galvanize my people that are saying, oh no, it doesn't exist. We need to stop complaining about racism. It's almost like telling a sexual assault victim to stop complaining about it, but it's like the dude is still pulling down her pants and trying to stick his stuff in. It's like it's still happening. It's not the past, it's the present. But Fire says she had to flee to Saigon when they bombed. It's unfortunately and I only speak on anti-Black racism because people are not standing up, but racism just in general is disgusting. Like Michael Pan is a cool Asian. I love Asian people and Asian culture. I don't want to be dealing with bigots that hate races. I don't really like bigots that hate Jews. Like I know there are a lot of shit that Jewish people are responsible, but for to just say it's the Jews for every little thing, I don't agree with that. I don't agree with people thinking every fucking white person is some colonizer and shit like that. I just don't agree with that. Are there some? Yeah, so you can call them out specifically, just like there's some thuggish black people, just like there's Asian triads and MS-13 and shit. So I'm not gonna hate a whole group of people, you know, just because of their, you know, miscreants or the lower rung of society. But it says, oops, sloppy typing. I meant to say that about them announcing the war against terrorism.
Yeah, and
I hear what
B-Eazy, right? And because I also want to add to that, right? Because I know you're in California, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I know because when I studied California, especially going back to 1992 with the LA riots between Asians and Black Americans, I do know that, yes, I'm aware that most Asians and Black Americans have a very deep history. There's like, it's more like a, how do I say this? It's more of a conflict and less harmony. Even though it's been like 33 years, but the tensions are still there within the Asian community, right? And looking at, because California, it's funny how people talk about California, how they make California this like utopia state. It's like it's a melting pot state with so many ethnic, racial groups, right? And when I look at it, right, because I don't live in California, but I could tell you from the Asian experience. So whenever a lot of Asian Hispanics move to California, they bring their baggage of anti-Black racism, right? And you see this too in California. They're in like city council, state assembly, mayor. I'm trying to remember.
They just found somebody last week in San Jose. It was two white Hispanic dudes, and of course they were calling black people the N-word and all this other stuff. This just happened last year. A couple years ago, it was those Latinos, Nuri Martinez, Gil Kevin De Leon. What are they saying? Calling a little black kid a monkey. They were mad at this white dude and said, F him, he's with the blacks. You see, implying that they're against the blacks. So they do all sorts of stuff, and then they talk about black and brown, and then they're like, why are blacks not protesting with us? And then it's just crazy that they're trying to act like they don't know. And speaking on the LA riots, it actually was a bunch of Hispanics that was rioting. There was a video. There was a Korean dude, and when he said when there was looting, it was mostly Hispanics. But the thing is, most of the tensions are between blacks and Asians. So when they put it on camera, even right now, LA is mostly Hispanic. They had a video of them looting. They were in black, and it's a bunch of Hispanics saying nigga, nigga, nigga. So they're like, oh, blame the blacks. It's like, this dude is clearly not black, but because he's saying the N-word, you're blaming black people for it. And then on top of that, even with the whole immigration, border patrol, 50% Hispanic, the ICE, 50% Hispanic. You see what I'm saying? Like, so you're getting mad at blacks, but it's a bunch of Hispanics that are like locking up. Right. Yeah, they're the ones in control.
Yeah, and also tours, right? Because
I wanted to add a little bit to Michael Pence.
Go ahead, Brian.
Well, so I want to add in, and I, we would have the same conflict too in the white community with other minorities.
Yes.
I think what happens, if you look back at the history, a lot of the problem is the Asian business owners would do business in black communities, but didn't live and assimilate into black communities to participate in the communities. So that becomes a problem as far as they separate themselves, and they're just seen as, I'm going to make money off these people versus really contributing more like into the community. And I think that hate is a little bit overplayed. Well, if anything, white folks in the suburbs have commented on, the same thing, Indian or Arab gas station owners and things like that. The difference is what we had was there's a lot of like Pakistani, Arab gas station owners and party store owners that would actually really become part of the community. They would get to know their customers by name. It's a little bit different dynamic, and I think that probably would have changed a little bit. And then I wanted to add, you talked about, you addressed progressives and reparations and things like that. Progressives will never talk about reparations heavy, and the reason being is they need the Black community, Black American freedmen community, to stomp for socialism and communism, and they're savvy enough to know that if Black Americans, this is part of the reason I push too for reparations, is that conversation is over. It's 100% capitalism, all go, when everybody's at an even playing field. And the Black American freedmen, once those reparations hit, that whole kumbaya socialism is out the door. So that's why you don't see white progressive, Jewish progressives, really, like even Mamdani. I don't see any reparations on his Twitter feed, so
And he's
that's
supposed to
where I'm
be,
going with that.
and he's supposed to be super radical, right? And reparations are not really radical. It's only framed as radical because of who is helping. Let's be honest. And I don't like Mayor Adams, but he did make a valid point. Mamdani is in the assembly now. So a lot of that stuff that he's talking about, oh, we want to have free buses, like he can do that as an assemblyman. Like that's within his purview. He could at least introduce the legislation or galvanize the other assemblymen to put forth legislation. But instead, it's like, here, vote me in as mayor and I'll do it. But it's like you're in a position now to do it. So
exactly right.
So there's a lot of pie in the sky stuff that he's saying. So it's like, if you're going to put pie in the sky, why not say reparations, even though it's not really a pie in the sky, but it's like they don't want to normalize the discussion at all, because so whenever someone says something is unpopular, that's BS, because regardless if it's unpopular, was it right? Because all the stuff that Adolf, the dude with the funny mustache, was doing, a lot of stuff he was doing was popular, right? Did it make it right? Slavery was popular. What did it make it right?
No.
Ending slavery was unpopular. So even if people, oh, we can't do reparations because it's unpopular, but then they'll fight for trans bathrooms. What area is fighting for trans bathrooms popular outside of maybe California? And even the majority of Californians don't want that. So it's not even majority popular in California, but the Democrats have no problem fighting for that. So it's not about popularity. It's just more to what Brian said. They want us beholden, like what Lyndon Baines Johnson, I'm gonna have those niggers voting Democrat. Remember he said that? But he did actually give tangibles. Now we got the least of the tangibles and we got screwed over in the allocation of those tangibles, but there was tangibles allocated. Now the Democrats are like, here, let's use your social and moral clout to say, right? Because they're always bringing up here, the DACA program. Where does that come from? Martin Luther King, I have a dream. That's why they're calling them dreamers. So they co-opt our stuff and say, here, they'll bring up Fred Hampton. It's like, you got, Fred Hampton was assassinated. You guys, they talking about a rainbow coalition. Where were the people of color to pick up Fred Hampton's legacy? Nobody picked up Malcolm X's legacy. So I don't want to hear this shit of this progressive. I call them regressives, because everything that they do is to set us back. They'll have this grand idea that they have a horrible way of implementing. That's not progressive to me.
Exactly.
But Mike, give a quick statement, and
I'll just do a
then I'm
quick
gonna move
statement.
on.
I'll try to make it quick as much as possible. So add to what Brian said, that once reparations begin to Black American freedom, socialism will be over. Just because we give reparations to Black American freedom doesn't mean they don't want other policies to be incorporated, because there are other policies that have to address the wound. Yes, reparations is I absolutely agree with reparations are include. However, because of Greg Marcel Dixon, he also has a policy of a public option, free public universities, vocational training, skilled trades. But I definitely know Greg Marcel Dixon's main priority is reparations, no doubt. And so other things have to fall into place at the same time. And speaking what you said about B-Eazy, yes. a lot of times a lot of times when the immigrants not right now say, "Hey, Black Americans, hey, we want to form a Black and Brown coalition," and Black Americans, but immigrants, why are you saying this right now when a long time ago you told us, "Hey, forget about the Black and Brown coalition, forget it." You guys don't. And I think the reason why the immigrants are realizing that they need a Black and Brown coalition because they know Black Americans are the culture more likely to speak out against brutality, systemic racism, and other like systemic structures, right? And they see Black Americans as very masculine, strong, right? They need like, in other words, they need like a soldier who can fight for them because most immigrants feel like they don't have the masculinity, right? Or they feel that they're very weak to to confront the enemy, right? But this time the Black American freedmen are smart and say, you know what, immigrants, this is your own guys' battles. And I totally understand because from history, when Black American freedmen fought for other groups of people, Black Americans got bitten by police dogs, had water holes, sp- um, water holes, splashed against them, and then Black Americans went to jail for fighting for equality for those groups, but their own, right? And then what Sabi said too about not too many people, not too many people who are going to protest can afford to get out of prison because it's very expensive. You have to hire an attorney, pay the bond fee, even just before going for a hearing. And unfortunately, because most immigrants don't understand, they still have this mindset, and it's too late already. And I say to immigrants, if you really want to show that, if immigrants want to show they care about Black American freedmen, they need to provide substance or fight for Black American freedom to get substance first. Because Black American freedmen, they're just tired of fighting everybody's battles, and it just adds too much stress to injuries, and also because Black American females are more likely to suffer from health disparities as a result of fight and flight mode, and it's not healthy. And I say like Black American freedmen definitely need a break, like indefinite break forever. And when Philip Scott said that once we get I'm just paraphrasing. When Philip Scott said we should get once we get reparations, then maybe we can have a 1,000 years 1,000 year separations from non-black Americans. I say, Phil Scott, actually, you people need an indefinite separation because majority of non-black Americans are not going to change their mindset. I could tell you already because they're still on the anti-black racism code. I mean, yeah, there's some who have moved past, of course, but a good majority no, because they're still stuck with the white man's money, unfortunately. And this is where I think capitalism has to go because it's very outdated, right? And for Asian people to see it that way, I just think that with Asians, Hispanics, and Jews, yeah, they gotta say capitalists have gotta go if we want Black American freedmen to be treated as equally and as a whole moving forward. And also tell like other people too outside the Asian community, they need to contact. I'm sorry, outside the Black American community, they need to contact members of Congress, senators, city council, state assembly, governors to advance reparations quickly because Black American freemen cannot do this alone, and Black American freemen are tired, frustrated, angry, upset, and they're sweating a lot. And I think to really so appreciate this through substance.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. Thank you for that. Just waiting for my boy Brian to come back. Until then, I'm just gonna go ahead and move the conversation forward. Oh, hold on. Is there somebody else? Hold on. I think I might have somebody else in the. Oh no, I thought it was somebody else in the back. It looked like it was two Brian's. I don't know.
Brian's, yeah. But Big Easy, quick question. So Sabi Saps, I just wanted to clarify. So she's definitely against illegal immigration, right?
I mean, I believe so. You would have to ask her. I don't.
Okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
'cause I noticed that she didn't throw like any like horrible questions to Jill Stein about reparations and the legal status. Because when I saw the TBA, the Black Authority, right? Tim Black, he was very like very specific. So I'm just very curious. Do you think like Sabi and the TBA have different like approaches when they ask candidates about reparations? I'm just very curious.
I mean that, like I said, you would have to ask her because
Uh-huh.
I can't really speak as to what her motivations is, so I don't want to assume, oh yeah, maybe she feels that way. So that's a discussion you would have to have with her. But obviously, if you're listening to both, then clearly they're going to have different approaches. I don't think everyone needs to have the same approach as well. Some people are going to be more delicate with their approach, and other people are going to be more kind of barbaric with their approach, to kind of bludgeon you with the facts versus somebody might gently give you the facts. I think both are needed. It's just a time, place, and the context. So I don't really look and say, for instance, it's a lot of stuff where people will be like, hey, why doesn't this person talk about this? And, they'll talk about that. It's like, why are you not talking about it? You know what I mean? Like, and sometimes people, they have different motivations as well. Other people have to maintain their audience.
Right.
Other people, they just have a different temperament, because a lot of this stuff is kind of drama and toxic as well, because people are always looking for a gotcha moment or to pit creators against each other. So I
Right.
really don't kind of go into that shit. It's just like, if I hear somebody that I disagree with, like, there's no one that I agree with 100% of the time. Just
Mm-hmm.
like people that listen to me, they don't agree with me 100% of the time. So to even think about that or even fathom that is a bit goofy in itself. You know what I mean? Like, we don't need total agreement. We just need people to be on code, and not everybody is going to be on code the same way. I look at it like this: if
Right.
we're trying to get to 10, 8 plus 2 equals 10, 5 plus 5 equals 10, 7 plus 3 equals 10. Multiple different ways, but we all got to 10. So that's all that matters. As long as we get to 10 and we meet each other, really don't I really don't care too much about how you got there. But let me say what Fire has to say. She said, I reach deep, my ovary balls are closer to my core. So salute to Fire and her core. Her core has been pretty strong, doing her workouts and stuff. So salute you. Your core, I adore. How about that? And she says, thank you, Michael. She also says, you can act Savvy and call and B is never going to speak for Sav. So yeah, so that shit. So yeah, you'll have to ask her, but I
Okay.
get it. Sometimes, it's like, she doesn't have as much time, but yeah, I don't speak for Sav. I don't speak for Fire. I don't speak for Brian. You know what I mean? That's just not how I get down. You might have to go to the Vanguard or something like that. They might speak, but she said, I don't agree with myself 100% of the time. And sometimes you got to talk to yourself if you want that expert
Right.
opinion.
I guess
And
because yeah, because I guess because TBA he watched a lot of like YouTube content creators. He did his homework, right? I think he watched Sabi Sab's interview with Dr. Jill Stein about reparations, right? And he noticed that Sabi did not ask a lot of like follow-up questions about reparations. Is this going to be like lineage space, race space, how the program is going to be distributed, right? Because I think because what Sabi did was she threw. I think she mostly asked softball questions, right? And Tim Black or Tim felt like, okay, if I want to get specifics out of political candidate, I'm sorry, out of political candidates about where they stand on reparations, I need to make sure I go hard, like ask very detailed questions, specifics. In other words, I want to get something more out of them, because by asking like softball questions and they provide general statements, yeah, it's not enough to know if they're going to like fully support reparations or not. If they were to get elected to office.
yeah, no, I hear you, but I just want to move the conversation forward.
I
And Fire
yeah, I
says,
just to finish up on that,
yeah, go ahead, Brian.
Go
Mark,
ahead, bro.
I think we're when it comes to us in our demographic here, um, we're outside the freedman community, so that's really on them to discuss, not really for us to kind of give advice. We're to cheerlead from the back, and
Mhm.
not. I don't like to critique. I know there's a few different kind of branches or ideas. I don't get in the middle of that. I listen to all, but when it comes to people like us, we just need to cheerlead from the back and not and let the freedman community deal with that kind of thing, in my opinion.
I agree, Brian. So that was a great segue to moving forward. But Fire says, Brian, thank you for being here as well. Great conversation. So clearly they feeling your perspective, Brian. So thank you for that. And Brian, because we really want to talk about the America First people who have turned into America Last. We want to talk about the MAGA who has turned into MIGA, which means make Israel great again. So could you speak to this? What has you been seeing? Because I know, I mean, instead of saying the D word, that rhymes with meth, we'll say the destruction, because YouTube gets a little bit tricky with the words. So destruction of MAGA. So is it the lefties that are destroying MAGA? Is it MAGA eating its own? What is going on with the MAGA base from your perspective, Brian?
Well, just like I thought would happen the day after Trump was elected, is there all of a sudden immediately became a internal battle of who's going to be king influencer around, and then that group got whittled down to basically just a few people on inauguration day, and then from there on they've been nothing but bickering and fighting and splitting off with two different camps of pro-Israel, anti-Israel, that's basically split the two. And they've been going back and forth, but obviously always remaining, instead of trying to unite and build more branches, they've still remained that strong. Many of them that have, I believe most of MAGA is really good people, because most of MAGA is not on social media. So the social media groups split, and they're fighting over engagement, not really for any kind of political movement or power. And then this last bit of Epstein stupid silliness has really just blown everything apart, to where people are turning on each other, which is fine. They were going to blow up because they're really, let's face it, there's not one person that would remotely get the same amount of support from any minority community at all compared to what Trump would get. What I mean by that is JD Vance would never, ever get the Black American Freedman vote, and neither would someone like DeSantis. So when they've gone on hard and they've been silly this and woke and anti-woke, you've basically said, you basically, everybody's a DEI, just like we've talked about before. That goose is cooked. So basically, I see the Democrats coming out strong next election. So that's just my opinion. There's a lot more things to discuss.
And it will be all their.
It's too much.
It will be MAGA's fault too, because just like you said with the whole DEI thing, right now Charlie Kirk is blaming DEI for the Texas floods, right? So it's just like they just keep going back to the anti-Black well. And it's like, dude, people are losing their lives. People are in need of aid, and you're talking about DEI. Most pilots are white.
Right.
Since most pilots are white, that means most crashes are going to be done by white pilots.
Right.
That has nothing to do with white culture or individual white people. Sometimes it's the turbulence or whatever, and they always make it seem, oh, the standards were lower, or it's a Black pilot, so I don't trust them. It's like that Black pilot had to take the same test as the white pilot. Exactly. They didn't just let them in because they were Black. Yeah, they may have did some program, but that they did that program, so they did some special program and they're still 90% all white. So
Right,
like,
exactly.
how effective is the program really working? And so,
Right.
and they're still complaining about it. It's like, dude, it's just it's very pathetic. But like you were saying,
Do you know?
Brian, what were you saying? Go ahead, Brian.
Well, I was just going to add on that. That program that they were talking about is, oh, we're going to, with the black pilots and stuff. All it was an olive branch to a couple of like HBCUs to say, hey, this career's available. That's it. There was nothing changed. This testing, the standardized, everything was literally the same. All it was an olive branch to a few HBCUs.
And
Through
HBCUs are
I
not all
forget,
black people.
Delta
Yeah,
or
it's
Northwest.
mostly like immigrants at HBCUs.
That's
Like,
what I was gonna say. The HBCUs, it's like 40%. It's like immigrants and like non-black. So it's like just that. That's why even when someone says, I never let people convince me of the talking point. Trump, whether it's Trump, Biden, or anyone, when they say they donated billions to HBCU, so that does something for the black community, and then I just flip it and I say, hey, is donating money to Harvard, Yale, or Cornell doing something for the white community? They'll be like, no.
right,
Those are predominantly white institutions. But suddenly, if you donate to a historically black college where there's a bunch of immigrants and non-black people, and it's a bunch of immigrants and non-black people running the money and funneling and mismanaging the money, you're not helping the black community. You know what I mean?
right. I know what
Especially
you
when
mean.
a significant amount
Right.
is not even going to college. And then you want them to go to college and they'll always complain, oh, you got a basket weaving degree, or you got this, or why didn't you go into STEM? How the hell am I going to get into STEM where you keep fast tracking H1Bs to get in, but you're making it hard for me?
Right.
Then the people go and they can't afford to stay in college, and then they end up dropping out and they still are sat at college debt. And it's like, hey, personal responsibility. So the cycle just keeps going on, and people lack empathy, but then they want you to be empathetic to some non-citizens' plight. It's
Right.
like I'm doing worse than them, and you
Mhm.
want me to be crying over them. Like, no,
Right. It's
it's
supposed to be It's supposed to be the other way around. It's supposed to be the immigrants crying for Black American freedom, not the Black American freedom crying for the immigrants. And you're right about that, Big Easy, because unfortunately, it's both parties, Democrats, Republicans. I'm going to say especially the centrist Democrats and hardcore Republicans. And the reason I say both, because the centrist Democrats pretty much, accommodate to extreme Republicans over time, and and definitely what history has shown, what the history has have told us in the last 30, 40 years. It just happened very slowly but surely, right? It's just like a cancer that spreads slowly, and then eventually the cancer is going to spread like a volcano. Then it's too late to fix the problem, because again, because like I said, it started with former President Bill Clinton in 1992, right? With his economic policies of we need to liberalize trade or have free trade, to make America great again. And he knew that outsourcing good paying jobs was never going to benefit big corporations more than American workers with NAFTA, deregulation, and not to mention he continued Reagan's policy. So it was not like Bill Clinton eliminated what Reagan did in the 1980s, especially emphasizing greed is good, right? And you're right, and so by having immigrants coming, I'm sorry, by importing immigrants every year, because no other like advanced countries outside America, like Europe, Asia, Australia, have a big influx of immigration population like America. And I think our problem with America is that we we like to sell the global world that we're like number one. We're great people. Oh, we have the greatest record on human rights. But other people outside America tell us, not really, America. You guys don't have a great record of human rights. And you tell us that we need to practice human rights. I'm sorry, we need to preach human rights by that. But you Americans don't preach on human rights. How does that make sense, right? And so, and what the both parties are doing is that because they don't want the government to directly, fund, universities for American citizens, even though American citizens make up the majority of taxpayers in this country. By importing immigrants, they know that corporations don't have to pay immigrants, especially like the Indians in tech, like a six-figure salary. So it's meant to undercut American workers. And you're right, it's preventing a lot of American students from getting STEM degrees because of the H-1B visas and several immigration policies. But there's one country that does a good job of controlling immigration is Australia. Australia has a policy called skilled immigration. What does that mean? So in Australia, so what the Australian government try to do is first, let's see if we can find locals for like STEM fields, right? As much as possible before we import immigrants as a last resort. If the Australian government can't find any talented locals to pursue those fields, then we go to immigrants as a last resort. But in America, we do the opposite. We do immigrants first and then American citizens last when it comes to excuse me, when it comes to skilled professions or hard to fill positions, because we're in so many like conflict. We've been in foreign conflicts since the beginning of this country. And if we had not intervened in foreign conflicts, I don't think we would have seen a big influx of illegal and, of course, supposedly skilled immigrants coming over to America and underpay American workers. And now, in speaking about make America first to make America last, so I'll give Donald Trump credit, for the deportation. However, just because a lot of jobs have opened up does not mean that American workers are going to get paid a living wage. So for that to happen, American corporations need to change their standards. Say, okay, American workers, we open up a lot. We have multiple vacancies. We will increase your wages by, let's say 10, 20% to make it more attractive. By just like deporting immigration, but without increased American wages, it defeats the purpose. And also, there's no unions anymore. So it's pretty much been extinct since the 1980s.
All right, hold on. So let me
Yeah.
kind of redirect it back. I like what you're saying, but it was kind of a tangent, you know what I mean? So let me kind of
So,
bring it back to like I was saying with the whole MAGA, and this is back to Brian.
Yeah.
So with the fracture that you're seeing right now, what are the main issues that is fractured over? I know some are mad that some think Trump is doing great with the border, even though I told you it's been minuscule, the number that he's deported. Some people think he's not doing enough. Some people think Israel is our greatest ally. Others think that Trump is a cuck for Netanyahu. What is the most friction and tension that you've seen based on your observation within the fracture in MAGA? That's for you, Brian.
You are not going to believe this. You are not going to believe this, but it's actually Epstein. Like as stupid as it sounds.
Oh, bruh, I didn't even mention that. That is quite stupid. But yeah, speak on that. Like, why are we shocked? Like, what did people think was gonna happen? A Netflix series was gonna come out?
Here's the thing with that is if you've actually followed the case and watched the interviews and read the news stories about it since the day it came out, basically it's I'll just real quickly breeze through it. It was brought to the attention of people because they wanted to weaponize it because he had links to Trump. Okay, so the DNC weaponized this big old story how Trump was friends with Epstein. Well, that's no shocker there because Epstein had access to hundreds of millions of dollars, and Trump needed financing for hotels in Florida. So that would not be a surprise. They're all in Palm Beach, having parties together and stuff like that. Okay, and get-togethers. Meanwhile, what happened was they're like, well, wait a minute here. He's also best friends with Bill Gates and Bill Clinton. Then all of a sudden it went hush. And then that's when the right-wing crazies went, oh my God, it's affiliated with Clinton's and the Pizzagate and this and that and this and that. So what they did was they ran on heavy we're going to dump the information as soon as we get elected. So there's a lot of crazy people, which a lot of MAGA is. So it's like blue MAGA and red MAGA. So now
Blue Anon.
there must be a cover-up. There must be a cover-up. They're hiding, they're protecting child predators. No, dummies. If you actually read all the information available that's all been released, that it was actually just a handful of girls. He had been punished for it in like the late 2000s. He had been punished for it.
Yeah, they gave him a very sweetheart deal, but he was punished. Yeah.
Right. And I believe little tinfoil hat is when they say, oh, links to the FBI, links to Mossad and stuff like that. Yeah, it very well could be. And the reason being is because he's very smart into finance, he would have been able to help recover Bernie Madoff funds from that Ponzi scheme. So someone like Epstein would have had a vast knowledge of how Ponzi schemes work, how funds get recuperated. A lot of funds actually got recuperated from the Madoff Ponzi scheme, which was broken like 2008. So there's a lot of stuff behind the scenes that they probably kept hush. Like, oh yeah, we're going to use the pervert to at least recoup a lot of this money. You know, Israeli investments, you know, they lost money in Bernie Madoff. A bunch of people lost money around the world. You know, we're talking about $50-60 billion. So there's a lot of stuff that, okay, like all the evidence is there. We know what happened, but they're going to spin this whole child pedophile ring and vicious satanic cults all over. And this is an Alex Jones thing and stuff like that. And really,
they're also saying it was Israel. They're going back to it's the Jews, right, because they're saying he was a Mossad Israeli agent. Yeah. I was going to say, have you heard that theory?
What's even funnier is not only is the Trump MAGA base going crazy, leftists are really interested. Like, really? Like, doesn't anybody read the news that's readily available? The trial transcripts for a lot of the cross examinations of the girls that came forward. It's basically it's a Diddy type of case, but Diddy won because he fought back. So that was the original Diddy. You know, Weinstein was another one where, you know, Candace Owens actually exposed with all those girls that supposedly Weinstein assaulted. Well, the cases were based on two girls, and he actually had multiple year relationships with the girls. And it was a hearsay case. He was whining and dining mistresses. So it's really wild, and they're tearing themselves up about it. They were going to fail anyway because they don't want to include anybody else with MAGA. So it was all bound to fail anyway. And like, you know, last thing I'll say about it is without Trump, there is no Black American freedmen vote. So we can talk about numbers of, oh, well, they really didn't, Black Americans really don't vote for Republicans and Trump anyway. Now, that's not true. Black Americans put him in office this time. So
he had historic. He had historic turnout with the Black vote, and you make a great point because Black people weren't voting for Republicans. They were voting for Trump, who was running under the Republican ticket. So, like you said, DeSantis not going to get that vote. Ted Cruz, just name anyone. Lindsey Graham. Who else they got? DeSantis. Marco Rubio. Right. None of these people are going to crack that.
Vance,
nothing. Trump is his own specific phenomenon. You can say he's bigoted. You can hang, and I say let's just concede the point. Let's say Trump is a bigoted, racist, white supremacist. Would you prefer that who tells you like it is, or Joe Biden who's saying you ain't Black if you don't vote for me, and then enacting a crime bill and calling it Biden's law? Trump didn't do no fucking crime bill. If anything, Trump and I'm not all for patting him on the back because there's a bunch of black society that is not criminals. So I don't champion that if he got someone out of jail, right? He done something for criminals. So hey, let's praise Trump. Like I'm not with that. However, the Democrats are always railing against that, right? Because they love people of color and marginalized groups and all this stuff, right? But then when it comes to time to get people out, they don't give a damn. And Trump, who is this flaming bigot, right? He did the First Step Act. And mind you, it's marginal, it's the first step. But it's the first step. How is a right-wing racist Republican doing that? But the benevolent, all-loving, all-knowing Democrats, where is y'all legislation? Because they don't give a fuck about the blacks. You know what I mean? So it's just all bullshit. They say, oh, Trump is this flaming racist and you should hate him. Biden has been more detrimental to the black community, and still people were saying, call him Uncle Joe. He ain't my uncle. You know what I mean? Biden had credible accusations of him being a abuser of women, but suddenly people stopped talking about believe all women. Believe all women when it pertains to Trump, but when it pertains to Biden, sweep it under the rug. So it's just tired of the hypocrisy. And Brian, I don't know if you're there. I think you had to take a break, but that's okay. I'm going to keep the show running and rocking. Shout out to everybody that's in the chat. And Fire says, please smack the like button like it's a racist in 2025. No, smack it like it's a racist in 1945, because that was still Jim Crow era. So that smack is you feel me? It's gonna be a hard smack. But make the ancestors feel it. Thank you for being here. Well, thank you for being here. Thank you for the people that are watching this concurrently, people that will watch the playback, and everybody that's going to like, share, and subscribe. And speaking of likes, matter of fact, let me hit y'all with this. Time for a like intermission. We kindly request that you show love to the channel's creator and platform by leaving a like, sharing, commenting, and subscribing. Don't forget to turn on the notification bell to stay up to date with all the latest content. Liking posts is completely free and helps the algorithm boost our reach. We want to grow the community larger and larger. So thank you all who take the time to support us. It does mean the world to us and doesn't go unnoticed. So that was a like intermission. Please take the time to hit the like button for your boy. Likes will not cost you a fee. They are free. And she says, damn right. I'm so tired of that shit. And Brian, it looks like he dropped out, but he's going to come back. Michael says credit needs to be given despite political party differences. I say always give credit. 2 + 2 is 4, no matter who says it. So if Trump says 2 + 2 is 4, I'm going to acknowledge that as a fact. It doesn't mean that suddenly I'm MAGA and I'm Trump supporter. I'm acknowledging this fact. I'm compartmentalizing and saying, yes, this is true, but I don't agree with him on anything else. When someone says something factual, there's nothing to debate. Concede to the factual point and move on from there. Unfortunately, what people do is, oh, someone says something true, so now I have to cater and coddle towards him because he said one or a few things that I disagree with. But what about all the moronic or anti-black or bigoted things that they said before? You want to excuse that because you agree with a few points? And on the flip side, you want to dismiss that because you disagree with a few points? And she says groovy. Okay, she's channeling her inner Austin Powers. Groovy, baby. Yeah. And Brian is back. Kinda, sorta. There he goes. I was like, are you there?
When I hit a button and I can still hear you, just goes blank. So I don't know how. I guess when I'm on this screen, that I can't use any other function, but that's okay. Now I kind of figure out just don't touch anything.
Oh, it's okay. It's you're back. But did you have anything to add before I kind of redirect?
No. If you want to go on to like one more topic for a little bit, or
Okay, yeah. So
it's up
so
to
if
you.
yeah, it's up to you. So about how much more time do you have, and that will determine which topic.
A little bit longer. You know, another
Okay,
10
cool.
minutes or so.
Okay, cool. That's fine. I just want to be respectful of your time, and I don't want to get into anything too elaborate, and then it's like that this is going to be a lot longer than that. So let's make the minutes count. Which one is most pressing that you think we could address? And we're going to be doing more of these in the future. This is just the segment in the session for today. So which one were you thinking of? And then we'll go from there.
Man, we touched on some big, heavy hitting ones already. I would like to end with just us us hopefully sending the message out to people who watch this that look how easy conversations like this can be done with two different people, grew up in two different regions of the country, and we've had great conversations. And I want any MAGA person, Trump supporter, conservative, Republican, or anybody, that more centrist Democrat is, there's a lot less hate in the country than people think. This is, we're having a great time here, chopping it up. Right.
Okay, cool. So that sets it up. So our final, because you want to talk about solutions, and uh we won't have time to get into all of them, but one of the solutions, and shout out to Sabby and others that always talk about it, but mutual aid is a solution that a lot of people are unfamiliar with. Uh, and if you think about the Black Panther Party, they had free food programs, health clinics, they would do skill sharing, tutoring, and things like that. No politician is going to save us. We do need to position ourselves to leverage your vote to be a political force and a political block, to where you not only demand something for your vote, but you have enough leverage to entice and incite the politician to do something, because they're only beholden to the big money donors and lobbyists, but it's really more of us. So if we get on code, we can actually challenge and combat them, that they can outspend us into infinity. So that's never going to be our our way to infiltrate politics. It has to be a numbers game. And in order to be America first, Black American freedmen have fought in every war. So you can't say that you want some sort of revolution, some sort of progressive change, and not include us. We've been the most patriotic, right?
No.
Think about this, right? A country that's saying you're not even human, you're scum, you're lower than dirt, you're lower than the gum that I stepped on. And we still said, you know what? We built this thing and we're going to fight to preserve this thing. We didn't flee and say that, hey, we want to go somewhere else. We said, nah, we're here and we're going to stay here. And we're joined by a lovely guest. So I'm going to come to you, Fire. It's just a little bit background noise. So I'm going to mute you right now. Bam. Okay. Yeah. It was like a fan or something like that. But yeah, shout out to Fire and looking lovely. I kind of lost my train, but I picked it back up, right? So when it comes to solutions, right? A lot of people are talking about it and they don't necessarily want to be about it. So something as simple as mutual aid, and I would say it's simple in theory, it's simple in concept, but it's not so simple in doing because it's a thankless position. And many people don't want to do things that they're not constantly being praised and feel that there's a lot of adulation for. So when I go out there and I feed some homeless or underprivileged youth, there's not a lot of cameras rolling, right? There's not a lot of people to document it to say, hey, you're out here. But am I doing it to help the people, or am I doing it to seek attention? Right. If you are a mechanic, right, and there's some poverty stricken families in your neighborhood, man, you can help someone change a tire, right? You can help someone. Okay, look, I know money is tight. Instead of you doing the oil change here, let me just do it for you for free. It's free to them, but that there was a fee accrued, you know what I mean? Like, so you're actually donating something monetarily, right? So even if you don't physically give them, I think oil changes now is like freaking 50 to $100 for an oil change now. So if you do that for somebody free, you just donated them 50 to $100 in terms of surplus value. So sometimes people look at like, oh, well, I don't have the money to give them. But it's like, dude, you're pretty skilled in a lot of things, right? This person is moving, help them move, do it for free. And I'm not saying do everything for free. I'm saying do enough things for free that it becomes the norm, that it becomes the standard, and everyone is helping each other pitch in a little bit. Let's say Brian is selling his famous barbecue plates. Give me an initial plate for, or have the first Fridays you give out barbecue free, right? That's just for this day. The rest of the time I'll be selling plates at an affordable cost, or kids of this age will feed the kids free. Like how they used to have it like Denny's or something, right? You go and the kids eat free. We can
Right.
do that shit, right? Come over here, Brian, buy a plate for me. Oh, you got your little ones here? I'm going to give an extra plate for the kids free. You don't need a politician to tell you that. You don't need Donald Trump to tell you that. You don't need J.D. Vance. You don't need Kamala Harris. You can do this on your own, especially when they talk about white people, right? They're the high IQs, right? The high IQs can't figure this out. All you got to do is just go back to the Black Panthers and see what they did. They had transportation services. Buses didn't want to come. So it's a bunch of stuff that we can do as a solution. And I consider it to like a dishes in the kitchen, right? If I come and I bring two dirty dishes in the kitchen, and then Brian comes and brings, instead of me just cleaning my two, and then Brian brings his three and cleaning his three, now there's no dishes. But if I drop off my dishes and then Brian drops off his, and then now we got a pile of dishes, and then people will look like, I'm not cleaning up that mess. It wasn't my mess to clean up. That's how it is in these neighborhoods. It starts spiraling out of control, buildings dilapidated. Hey, it's not my fault. So why should I pick up the trash? Why should I worry about staying here and building up this community? I'm going to just go somewhere else. But then you shouldn't be complaining about the problem. So before you go, and before I get to fire, Brian, could you speak to what I just said and how we can deliver solutions to bring our communities together and deliver for the American people?
That's an excellent way to finish it, because quite honestly, that's a bit of that white privilege that we do have. We've never had to do mutual aid. We've never had to do it. We've always had politicians. And I'm not saying this in a bragging way. It's just, this is going to be new, that needs to be done. And it should be done. And we've done little, we've lecturing different communities on how they should be run versus getting more involved And I think there's been a lot of work in Chicago, and that's due to the fact that from Friedman, make Chicago go red. Those guys are, killing it in
Yeah, I know some of
Chicago.
them.
Really, they
Shout out to
stopped
Mark
Trump.
Carter. Yeah, they
Yes,
you know who Mark Carter is?
Danielle too. Danielle, I think.
Yeah, exactly. They have been stomping heavy, so salute to them. The Democrats hate them, bro. But peep this: the Democrats didn't want to meet with them, and they hate them. But Trump, who's this bigoted racist, he did meet with them, and Rudy Giuliani and all this stuff. So okay, like I said, let's just say Trump is racist. He's a racist that will meet with me, and the Democrats are anti-racist, but they want nothing to do with me. Go ahead, Brian.
Yeah, to finish it up, I would, if I were to be able to have the power, I would push for more of that work that those guys did in Chicago. They damn near almost flipped the state red. And I think Trump definitely could have done more going forward. The new candidate, I think reaching out to the NOI, other grassroots movement, just working in the community, showing effort. And I've learned a lot that a lot of these people have gone in there for photo ops, and then ducked out, and they haven't done a dang thing. So that work that those guys did in Chicago needs to continue for everybody. And yeah, we're going to have to learn that mutual aid part.
Yeah, man, we got to take it nationwide. And I like what you said about the privilege, because like you said there, typically there's studies that show about like 85% of white people don't like live anywhere near black people, right? So they're typically often like segregated enclaves that don't necessarily have to worry about mutual aid, right? Because of course there's a hospital. You don't have to worry about food banking because there's various healthy options, and there's not a lot of fast food being promoted there. So there is a sense of privilege there where it's like, hey, I don't, since we don't have to do this, or since we don't have to deal with it, why would I go out and do that? But this goes back to the America first, right? Do you believe that freedmen are not Americans? Do you believe that only whites are the only American? And then let's just say, since a lot of you hate black people, let's just take us out of it. You call a lot of other people model minorities. Why are you not doing it for them, right? You're not even doing it for the model minority. So it's like, are you really pro-life? Are you really American first? Because when they say they're pro-life, they really just mean pro-birth. They want some lady to just pop out a baby, regardless if she was assaulted or whatever, because they're pro-life. Then when that baby gets out, they tell the baby to pull themselves up by their bootstraps. No such thing as a free lunch. Why the hell are you egging people on to have more babies and stuff? Same thing if it's dilapidated buildings in Oakland, right? If you're pro-life, wouldn't you want those teens to have the best schools? But it's like, no, they grew up in a poor district, so let them eat cake. How is that pro-life? How is that America first? Go ahead, give your final statement.
And just the pro-life question just came up the other day. I was surprised. I'm like, well, the solution would be to let's make better men so we don't have to worry about abortion. Let's stop the wars.
Hey, I know you. Hold on, I gotta stop you. I know you triggered them with the "let's make better men." That was a triggering statement, bro. I'm sure you got a lot of backlash for that, bro.
Oh, she fell apart. She was like, "Well, that's a deal killer." I said, "Well, I want to clean. I want to get the drugs off the street. I'm anti-drugs. I want mental health facilities built to get people out of the street. I want asylums. I'm 1940s where people are pulled up, are put in there and that locked. We have we have people that have committed crimes with stealing cars, and they're in with psychopaths in prison. You're creating more violence. But you're not even segregating. You have Jeffrey Dahmer in with a guy that stripped cars
Jay
down
Walt,
and sold the motors.
yeah.
Like, are you
Now,
kidding me?
no, that's a great point, because then
But
on
that's
top
another
of that,
topic for another day.
yeah, no, I hear you, and I just want to touch on that real quick, because that's a great point. Because they jail is supposed to be rehabilitation, right? But then you throw me in jail with some literal freaking lions and wolves, right? They don't distinguish. They put the non-violence in there with the people that was on Con Air. I don't know if you ever seen that movie, right? But they throw you on there with the killers that was on Con Air, and what happens is you have to conform, right? You're going to have to fight someone. You're going to have to stab someone for survival. And guess what happens when you defend yourself for survival? You're gonna get time tacked on because you committed a crime. It's like it's like a catch-22, kind of like how the libs, they want to take your firearms from you and stuff, and then when someone comes in and assaults your wife, and then you defend yourself, they're like, well, you didn't really have to kill him, personal responsibility. They do the same thing in jail. Was like, you didn't have to I was like, the dude was coming at me with an ice pick, I just got to him first, and it's like, still murder. now you got enhancement time. It's like, how was that rehabilitating me? So obviously it's a whole Ponzi scheme to continue. There's a mass incarceration industrial complex, the school to prison pipeline. So it's all big money. But before I go to the lovely Fire, did you have because I'm gonna chill out for probably like 10-15 more minutes to let Fire talk, but I mean, you can hang out or you can drop down. Thank you for your time, Brian. You've been very gracious and been insightful.
I gotta skate. This has been great talking to everybody. I'm sorry, Fire. I gotta run. Man,
I was like, damn, you belling on us, B.
We gotta definitely do this again for sure.
Oh yeah, it's no problem. We'll set it up for sure, and I'll go ahead and drop you down, and you just DM me whenever. Thank you for your time. Salute to you and your family, Brian, and yeah, you're welcome over here anytime. Also,
right, see you guys.
Yeah, if you do, you have a YouTube channel too, Brian?
Me?
Do you have a YouTube channel?
Oh no, I don't have it. I don't have a YouTube channel.
Okay, got you. All right, cool. We may have to work on that for you. All right, Brian.
You just have them just like Twitter.
What was that? You kind of cut out.
Oh, just like me on X if you like what I say.
Okay, cool. Yeah, go follow Brian T on X. I don't have your link right now, but the next time I do, I'll drop your link in the chat. All right, bro. Well, thank you so much. I'm gonna just stay here for a little bit more and chat with Fire, and I'm gonna get up with you, Brian. Salute to you, brother. Bam, we got none other than Fire, who is on fire. You got that Phoenix style fire. You can unmute now, Fire, because we can't hear you. You should be good now.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. How you doing?
Okay, I'm like, you muted me. I didn't mute you.
Oh, yeah. I was like, oh, damn, I forgot. My bad. It's just when you at first came in, it was a lot of background noise, and it was kind of... But now it's...
I'm sorry. With my yoga school, it's already automatically muted, but when we're on Savvy Zooms, like, it's not muted. You have to mute when you come in, so it's always something different for every platform.
Exactly. Yeah, no, I got you. Well, thank you for joining the stream and for sticking it out. You see, you got wrenched out, so I gave you the, you in blue, the true with the blue. But did you have anything to add to the discussion? Did you want to?
I took notes, but I don't. I don't want to go on a full rant because I know you've heard this from me before, but I just
It
want to.
doesn't matter if I heard it from you. It's like there's an audience that probably haven't heard it, and maybe somebody watching the playback. So this isn't about me. This is about whatever you want to say right now.
I like what you. Okay, so there's a lot of points, but some of this can be for another time. But
Yeah, you don't have to get them all now because we will be doing more in the future. And if you don't mind, I mean, me and you can do a stream together too. We can set one up. It will be just like how it was with Brian. And if people want to chime in, you know what I mean? So, like I said, don't feel like you have to get everything out now just because
yeah,
I've already been up here for 2+ hours.
yes.
And you know what I mean?
I just want to touch on something really quick because I think it's a huge conversation that not enough people are having over and over again, in your face, in your face, in your face, and that is that I've been fighting for the same, not me, but collectively, women have been fighting for their bodily, like our just personal sovereignty for so long.
Bodily autonomy is that what it's
Yes,
called? Okay.
but personal sovereignty, like just since I was 14, like since I found out that I had to be fighting for my womb's rights, uh, it's just been something that's enraged me for so long. And not only could some old rich white dude tell me what I can and cannot do with my body's womb, but also, and like you said, and then not give a shit about what happens when I actually produce something from my womb. Which is technically for them, like I'm producing another consumer is technically what that is to the
Bingo.
oligarchy. And that's one of, a strong reason why I never had children anyway, but also that I don't get to put in my body but plant medicine, ancient, God's green earth's plant medicine has been demonized since the dawn of time of my life, and we are living in a world with a bunch of pedophile rapists that are covering for other pedophile rapists, and we've had this whole like we're pretending that voting is getting us somewhere thing, and both sides of the oligarchy are Bible thumping at each other with their different versions of whatever the fuck it is that they're pretending to believe in. And nobody is marching in the streets over children being raped and bombed. I just like it's hard to exist in this world right now without community. And I think this is a larger conversation for the future. But I keep thinking,
Hold
with
on,
my
before you continue on, let me go back to what you started. I want you to expound on something because you were talking about I said bodily autonomy, but what was the phrase that you used?
sovereignty.
Okay, bodily sovereignty, right?
Well, I
I
am
want
a. Go ahead.
I want to get you to expound because you know how I was talking about the pro-life, right? There are these right-wing whack jobs that, like I said, regardless, they just want you to pop out a baby because, and there is a lot of the kind of eugenics things involved in it. We need more white babies, like how Elon is saying he specifically wanted white babies and stuff. So I'll speak for black men. Black men have been, painted as like some sort of like sexual deviant. So a lot of times they've been objectified just for their sexual prowess, i.e., BBC and the King Kong and the white woman, et cetera, right? A lot of white women specifically have been this where the whole barefoot and pregnant thing comes in. They've just been seen as just a womb, right? Like, so you're just there to, keep the white race going, but then after that, like outside of your womb, what value do you have outside of your ability to procreate? What value do you have? So there's this whole contingent where it's just kind of leaves some women that voluntarily opt to not procreate, or who just says that, hey, due to whatever physical ailment, I can't. So what are we to do with those women? To just act like they don't exist? To treat them as less than? So then there becomes a hierarchy that a woman who is fertile is better than a woman who can't. It's like, but based on what? Like, you're not gonna have kids with this young girl who could produce 5 kids. So how is she better than, a middle-aged woman who's very wholesome, polite? And you see what I'm saying? Like, have you noticed that? Like, there's a hierarchy of womb, should I say?
Oh yes, I mean, you're not a woman, but it's kind of
That's why I'm
it's
asking you, because
it's
I'm on the outside looking in.
it's pushed on you from an early age. Like it's the whole married. Oh, you don't have kids? Like what? Oh, and like it's this
Oh, you
whole
know what they
thing.
say? They say, what's wrong with that? After they say you
Oh,
don't have kids, immediately after, and it happens for men too. They say, man, if you're 30 years old and you don't have a kid, they say, what's wrong with you, or you're gay. And then for women, they just act like, what's wrong with you? Go ahead, speak on it, Fire.
well, first of all, let's rewind the videotape for a second. Well, I just dated myself there. I let's rewind it.
Gotcha.
Let's rewind the VHS. Let's rewind the
Be
VHS tape for a
be
minute,
kind to rewind.
like the Epstein tape that from the jail. Um, so the BBC thing. I just wanted to say that's actually a stigma that women have put on black men. I don't think that has anything to do with you being a deviant. that has to do with women's preferences. Just saying.
No,
Um,
I'm not disagreeing. I'm just saying there is a trope to make it a
yes.
negative thing. And there was an article
Oh, really?
that had, yeah,
I never heard of a negative thing about that before.
yes, and shout
That,
out to my mofo brother, Big Rig Slaps. And Big Rig, we just shooting the breeze, chewing the fat. I'm about to we about to end it soon. But if you want to come up and chop game or anything, just let me know. The link should still be in the chat. If not, I will re-add it. But yeah, I just want to, and I'm gonna send you an article. It's something called like King Kong and the White Woman, where, because they call black men monkeys, gorillas, and stuff for real.
oh my
So
God.
when you start thinking about the imagery of it, like King Kong is this big, mindless, bruteless ape, and then there's this dainty damsel in distress who happens to be a woman. Like there was a huge, I mean, there was an article and it talks about the correlations of example. But anyways, like I said, they that's also was the whole thing with Jim Crow. Remember Emmett Till? He allegedly whistled at a white woman because black men, black kids are sexual deviants. If you have them around, that they're gonna rape the precious white women, and then they're gonna put out these mulatto babies that are really not gonna be mulatto. They're gonna be black because of the one drop rule. So that's where the whole sexual deviant comes in. And I do agree with what you're saying. About your point with the BBC, that's why they had to kind of demonize it and stigmatize it to get the white women to self say, okay, I don't want to deal with the black. And that's kind of what they're doing too with the whole abortion, right? They kind of demonize you into saying, oh yeah, so what if you got sexually assaulted? Aborting that baby is against God. You know what I mean? So they shame you and stigmatize it in a way that you don't want to get one. You know what I mean? And that's
Right, but
how it is.
bombing and raping children is fine. But
Correct.
they can tell me
Unfortunately.
what I can do with my womb. Yeah, so I'm just gonna end it there because there's so much conversation to be had. Oh, I did want to say one more thing.
Okay, so we gotta set this up again. So you're gonna have to carve out a date and time, and then we'll come and then we'll go for like 2+ hours or whatever, and
Okay.
just touch on various things. And obviously we can stay in contact within the back chat, but putting out a message that's that the people need to hear. Because that is a perspective. I can only give my perspective as an observer. I can't speak for women. You know what I mean? I can speak about women. You know what I mean? So that's the difference. But yeah, if you had anything else, just give us some closing statements so we can shut her down, Fire.
I just wanted to say that there's a lot of work to be done and the hour is late. And I keep thinking that one of our strongest suits right now is that we are having conversations. And thank you for letting me know about your show. And I really appreciated being here and being a new mod. It's awesome. And I think we should play to our strengths. And I thinking, I'm trying to find my place, what I can do for mutual aid. Like, what are my talents? What do I bring to the table? What can I teach? What can I share? What can I shelter, feed, or water people with um, before I leave this plane of existence? And I hope more people, I feel as though we are attracting, as we're having these conversations, we're attracting more answers than questions and more solutions than these stagnant inactions that I've perpetrated as well in
Mm-hmm.
my last 5 decades of existence. And I don't I won't be perpetrating that anymore. I'm all just moving forward, rolling forward strong now.
Hey,
Thank
they
you so
call that.
much.
Oh, no problem. Thank you for stopping by. They call that growth. And we don't all have to be doing a lot. We all just need to do a little. Doing a little collectively amounts to an astronomical amount. Amounts to a amount that's just you can't fully calculate or quantify. So like you said, having these discussions, having solution based discussions, it's cool to like shoot the shit. I mean, I like having funny, dramatic, obnoxious conversations, but that should be at a minimal. We're supposed to be building more than babbling, right? You can get on the mic and just babble away, right? But what are you actually building? Most of the times people get on here and they start complaining. And when you ask them simple questions, did you do anything to address what you're complaining about? Most of the times they haven't. All they did was make more content to complain about what they were even complaining. So, like I said, you don't need a politician to start a book drive in your local area, to do a backpack drive, to do a food drive, to give out food, to mentor people, to tutor people, to offer skills. You don't need any politician for that. You can do this all on your own. I'm certified in massage therapy. If you know somebody has an injury, you can offer them a massage. If it's not free, you can give them a reduced and what we call a player price. What you're doing is uplifting the community. You're enriching the community. If you're not contributing to the construction of your community, you're contributing to the destruction of your community. Many of us have done that. It's time to right the ship. You know what I mean? If you saying, "Hey, I don't give a flip about the community, f them kids," I don't want to hear nothing when those kids rob you. I don't want to hear nothing when those kids go out and do some nefarious activity because you didn't care about them then when you could have prevented it. So I don't care if they did something harmful to you. It's harsh and it's unempathetic, but isn't that the energy you're projecting towards these kids? I have that acronym. I call it Cecil. SESL. Same energy, same logic. Keep the same energy, apply the same logic. So keep it on that energy. If you're putting out and projecting negative, hateful, toxic energy and it comes back to you tenfold, what the hell are you complaining about? Like, what did you expect? You're putting out demonic vibes into the atmosphere, but somehow you're expecting an angelic atmosphere. That's imbecilic and moronic. So thank you so much, Fire. I'm gonna go
Thank
ahead
you.
and shut her down. So I'm gonna take you out. And I was joined by some illustrious guests, the lovely Fire, Brian, Michael Pan, the boy Big Rig came through, John Sinatra came through, who else? Ozzy. Yeah, salute. And there probably was some people lurking in the crowds, but I appreciate y'all. And before I hit y'all, if y'all didn't hit your boy with a like button, with the like, Like Fire says, slap that like button like it was a racist. Like a racist in the height of Jim Crow. Smack it up. But I'm ill with the graphics. I do my own graphics. So let me hit y'all with one.
Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained? Is this not why you are here?
Follow. B-Eazy. You know you want to.
We're waiting.
Okay, so follow me on Instagram, B.Eazy, that dude. Matter of fact, I got another visual for that. Hold up. Please take the time to follow B-Eazy, that dude, on Instagram. Your support is appreciated and doesn't go unnoticed. There we go. Yeah. Hey. B-Eazy, that dude, shit so hot it's burning up. Just go ahead and turn this up. I bring the pain like an aftermath of a car wreck. There's a lot of niggas that say they real. To me, that shit is far-fetched. Them cats is pussy. They really is on some feminine stuff. I ride up on them with the 40 ounces to definition of adrenaline rush. What it do is sweet like cinnamon puffer. My niggas is rough like Willow Pass. Grew up out on Mary Mac, but I used to hang on Willow Pass. These birds that I roll with, outcasts and misfits. For the zip lips when you get hit. When the fifth spit, flat line in your pit. Trap habits is black magic, no voodoo. Get the bands like Buku. For the cocaine, they go cuckoo. Most these niggas is foo-foo, so I'm shitting on them like doo-doo. I can't fuck with y'all like tofu. I'm just saying, man, like Goku. Bad bitches at the house with me watching Netflix or Roku. Fuck them both at the same time, and I swear to God, it was so cool. Street legend, real boss, I call shots cause I'm still saucy. I know some G's to the bike crack on shite racket and fly back out the mill. When they hear me flow, they say I be burning up, burning up. Cookie to the draw is what we burning up, burning up. What you ain't know, oh, we burning up, burning up. This shit so hot, it's burning up. Just go ahead and turn this up. When you hear me flow, say I be burning up, burning up. Cookie to the draw is what we burning up, burning up. What you ain't know, oh, we burning up, burning up. This shit so hot, it's burning up. Just go ahead and turn this up.
私も地元民と言っても実は世代です。もう友達できたの？うん。ぶったまんまこっち見ろ。
This promethazine got me leaning like a cholo in the club. I'm 20 deep. I don't be riding solo. Pull some bad bitches, they vanilla and cocoa. They wanna take some photos when we kick it out in Soho. Chicks is showing tits and popping pussy for my promo. Told them like juvenile, baby, moving for me slow mo. Then I'm right back to the block, cause I keep getting moto. I be flipping, not shrinking. I don't give a fuck about no This nigga name ain't D-Lo, but pimpin' these bitches and stacking this bread forever be my stilo. This is B-Eazy, that dude in the trap making pass smooth. If I ever go broke, then I'm about to pull a jack move. Since a nigga healthy, I don't even gotta worry. With my bitch from Fiji, eating tandoori and chicken curry. That ism is really in me. My pimp game international. I design my own clothes, so I be always looking fashionable. Here's a couple facts about me that y'all didn't know. Some of y'all be getting bread, but I be getting bigger, dawg. I got bigger guns and a whole lot of better.
Follow. B-Eazy. You know you want to.
Go ahead, give your boy a follow, like, share, subscribe. Salute to the chat. Salute to the people that be watching this on the playback. I love y'all. I appreciate y'all. On that note, I'm out.